What's up, manga heads? This is Darfox, and we're at the very start of 2022, and we thought it'd be cool to compile all of our conversations about Beastars into one big compendium. I've re-listened to all of these conversations again, and it's actually really fun going back to the very beginning and hearing just our sense of mystery and intrigue when we discovered this series, and our excitement and enthusiasm, and then our confusion with all the stuff that starts happening. And it's a really great series, and it's really fun to just kind of like watch our journey go from being very intrigued to just becoming Beastars mega fans. Here it is then, available for you to listen in all its glory. If you like Beastars, or if you like a conversation with Beastars, please consider leaving a comment or liking the video, subscribing to the channel. It'll be a big help. We're gonna keep talking about Beastars, and the new volume comes out very, very soon. So we'll probably be back to talk about that. But for now, just enjoy our past conversations. They're pretty special. Thank you very much.
So Darfox and I have both been actively reading Beastars. Seamus, we've talked to you a lot. We've talked a lot about this podcast about Beastars. If I could make this a Beastars podcast, I would. This is definitely my favorite current manga. It's my most anticipated manga for new chapters. So Beastars is by Paru Itagaki, and it takes place in a world populated by anthropomorphic animals. They're herbivores and carnivores, and they coexist in this world where it is illegal for carnivores to eat meat. And it takes place in this school, Cherryton School, where all the animals are learning to coexist and study and be in school. And it starts out with a murder of a classmate. A herbivore alpaca, Tim, is killed, and the school is filled with suspicion, and tensions are rising between the herbivores and the carnivores. But we follow our main character, Legosi, who is a gray wolf. Despite his giant appearance, he's a really kind-hearted, soft-spoken character. And we kind of follow his relationship with other people and his school life. So, Darfox and I have talked about this a lot. Seamus, let's go to you. What did you think about Beastars?
I think you mentioned this before, but the art style is like way different from
Typical
any
shonen
manga I've
manga.
read before.
Yeah, not even just shonen manga, but any manga. It's very flowing art and like almost like a painting style.
Yeah, I think maybe it's like the fact that it's all like animals, so there's not that like there's no such thing as that typical manga face as well. It's all here's a wolf, here's a deer, here's a dwarf rabbit.
It's kind of a furry's like wet dream of like furry manga, because that's what it is in essence.
Yeah, I mean, you've shared pictures of it amongst like our group of online friends, and they instantly like, why is Douglas reading furry porn? It's like, oh, there's some adult things in it, but it's mostly it's nothing like porn. But people look at it and yeah, they look, they're anthropomorphized like the way furry porn is done.
Right.
It's not like Tezuka would draw like these human animal hybrids, and they just had like cute anime faces. They wouldn't really have like the long noses and all like the actual animal features. They have that here in Beastars.
That's actually kind of the appeal of like the art and the characters. Is the tigers are drawn with tiger features. You know, how do you draw this chicken with like a body of a regular human?
The differences between them is kind of like the theme of the manga.
Yeah, especially between the herbivores and the carnivores. I compare it to Zootopia a lot, but in Zootopia they're much more in their animal form. In this one, it's much more like you took a human and you just put like their animal head on to it in a lot of ways. So they're much more like human in features as well.
One thing I was wondering is his name a reference to that like actor who played Dracula famously? Considering,
yes, it is.
Because I was like, he is now involved in a high school drama group.
Yes, they're part of the drama club or the theater or acting club,
which gives the name, right? That's why it's called Beastars.
No, is it Beastars?
No.
Is like a future, not famous person, but like influential person. Is that's kind of the whole thing of it? It's like, oh, they're future politicians or that kind of thing.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
They do cover that.
It's a
Totally forgot about
title
that.
rewarded to one of the students as like to be most honorary. It's like a high honor to receive this award, and those
Is it-
people go on to become like major politicians or like. other famous
isn't
people.
that is it valedictorian, that thing in high schools in America?
Yes, something similar to that. So one of the characters that you meet, Louis or Lewis, the red deer, he is obsessed with becoming the next Beastar.
To the point of murder. That is my off the cuff one volume in That's Who Killed the Alpaca.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that to get more into it. The manga starts with a murder of a classmate, Tim the alpaca, but they really don't touch upon it a lot. Like it's not the plot doesn't revolve around, oh, it's a mystery, we got to find out who murdered Tim. It's always there in the background, more to kind of just convey the tension that's always there between the herbivores and the carnivores. And in the world that they live in, it's announced that there are murders taking place. Carnivores are murdering herbivores in the real world, even though it's like considered illegal. So everyone's on tense tension. But Darfox, do you think Legacy is the one who murdered Tim at the beginning?
So, originally I definitely didn't, but the manga goes all the way to like muddy that up, and it shows that he actually does sometimes lose himself somewhat. In an instance where he has to like tackle a dwarf bunny because of other like circumstances, and at that point like his animal instincts take over at least to like a certain extent. And that was as far as I recall with like the first time that they showed that like these people do have to like struggle a little bit with like their animal instincts, and like the society is kind of set up for that with like the 1 hour recess or whatever to calm your animal instincts.
Oh, I really that's a good point. Like there are so many little details about the world and what these what the society is built upon. So what Darfox is basically saying is I think they said every week or every other week, the animals are required to spend an hour in a natural environment setting. So all the polar bears go into a room and it's like nice and cold, right? Or the zebras go into a room and it's just filled with a lot of trees and shrubbery and things like that. And in Legacy's case, his room for the wolves is a nighttime room that's filled with the moonlight. It's supposed to help relax them and like so they can gel better in society again. But there are other. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say after they started all that stuff, it entered my mind that it's possible that Legosi like completely lost it and killed somebody, but I don't think so, and I wouldn't like that to happen. But the manga at least did a pretty good job of establishing the possibility, where as opposed to like in the very beginning when I read it, I said like, oh, this is definitely not Legosi. There's something else going on.
That chapter where he tackled the dwarf wolf, what's her name? Hannah? No,
Haru.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one bit there with like, if butterflies are a potential motif of Trail of Blood, I actually thought it was kind of like eyes in an otherwise kind of blank or grey dark screen, because that popped up a couple of times, both from like her point of view as kind of she's been ostracized by the
Other girls.
Harlequin rabbit, because the Harlequin rabbit's boyfriend tried to kiss her or something. Was that it?
Yeah, they
I
had like
think
a flirtatious thing.
I think it's implied that she slept with him. Wait, Seamus, what did you read up the part where with Legacy and Haru in the garden, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's heavily implied that Haru sleeps around, and I believe it's true.
Because that was what they were saying about her. I was like, is there any actual truth to it? But actually, no. I guess getting back to the whole fight about the art was just like, because that was like you kind of just saw her eyes in a blank, like dark panel is like a sign of her being alone. But then like later on in that chapter, it's like Legosi's eyes like staring out of the darkness at her as like a predator about to like pounce. Which I thought was like a nice mirroring of like she is kind of like the victim or like kind of prey, and he's a predator.
Yes, I don't know. This is a special manga, you know.
It's very, very unique, and I think kind of high quality. And I think it has at least I get the impression that like it has an idea where it's going. So like there's a little bit of excitement while I read it. Like, is it going to show its hand or stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the world of these carnivores and herbivores living together, but the characters are also really, really strong. Like Legacy, the main character who's struggling with his animal instincts. He wants to be good. He doesn't want to like stand out, but he can't help himself. He has this natural attraction.
And the way Lewis reacts to that,
Yeah,
where he's a herbivore that has to try extra hard to like stand out, and he sees Legosi as like wasted talent. He hates how Legosi tries to hide himself,
and he hates carnivores in general. So,
but at the same time, like Legosi and Lewis are kind of like the most, like the two characters that understand each other the most. There's kind of like a kinship and like an adversarial aspect to their relationship. They're like Goku and Vegeta.
Well, it's more that Legosi is very, because of his both being a wolf, he's very observant. So other people don't notice that Lewis is like he hurt his leg or like he's suffering or he's not feeling well, right? But Legosi picks up on all those things, which I'm sure creeps and like annoys Lewis some more.
Yeah, because like his instincts are like sizing up potential prey. Like, oh, this one's injured, right? Yeah, but like he's not using it like that, but that's where it's coming from,
and that's what pisses off Lewis some more. Also, this is they go into the relationship between Legosi and Haru a little bit more. I think Seamus, you were up to the point where Legosi realized he's happy because he met Haru, right?
Yes.
Yeah, even though Haru tries to sleep with him, and he flips out because he has no idea. He's never had any romantic or feelings for anybody.
I really like how they established her character though, Haru. Like they have that chapter where she kind of describes her, her being ostracized a little bit, and she describes like her relationship with men on how like they all want her, but like once they get her, they like regret it or they shun her for it.
Yeah, she talks about how like she's like small and cute. They kind of want to like protect her or like be there for her in some kind of way, and then they get to know her, and it's like it's not like that whole thing of like they put her on a pedestal, and then it's like she's not actually like idealized like little dwarf rabbit person who's like all cute and like innocent and in need of a savior almost.
Yeah, they want to white knight her, and that annoys her, and also essentially. Also, when like they finally sleep with her, they're like, "Oh well, you're just an easy, slut." Yeah, for like a shonen manga, this is really well established, don't you think? I've described it like this doesn't feel like a shonen manga almost.
Yeah, the aspects of it that feel mature are definitely the aspect that I usually find mature in seinen manga. Where in shonen manga, the aspects that I see mature are usually just like the violence or like, oh, something hardcore happened. Shonen manga. But like this isn't really like that. Like we just talked about the bunny rabbit. Like the nuance in her character, like she might sleep around. Somebody might call her a slut, but like I mean she isn't really.
It's a manga that focuses all on those. Those are the core strengths of Beastars. Both this world that they've established with the tension between the carnivores and the herbivores, and the strength of their characters that are built upon this world.
And you got Legosi's, I think the drawings and the designs of the characters are fantastic, but the best things is Legosi's like blank face and his like piercing eyes, and also like his hands. The way they draw his hands, that's like big and kind of like detailed.
And he has sharp like claws.
Yeah, Legosi I think is a great character. Like they did a fantastic job of like. As like making a temple that they're gonna hang all this on.
Yeah, and to answer your earlier question, Seamus, at the end of the first volume, the author wrote down that, I got the name Lugosi from Bela Lugosi of Dracula fame. Darfox, you were talking about that blank, cold stare. It takes me back to a scene in the second chapter where Lugosi's talking with his dog friend Jack, and they're talking about the play that they're gonna put on in the drama club. And Jack is like, "That's a really sad story, Lugosi. Do you like it?" And there's just this 2 panels of Lugosi kind of looking at him quietly, and then all he says is, "I like tragedies." really awesome. I really can't say enough great things about Beastars. If it was up to me, like this would totally just be a Beastars podcast. And I just want them to release all chapters in English, because I will tell you the last 5 to 6 most recent chapters of Beastars have been just home runs every single chapter. Every single chapter is just hitting me with giant plot bombs all over my face. And I won't say them because I don't want to spoil Dark Fox. But Seamus, thing that we like to ask on Triple Dip is, would you consider reading more of Beastars?
Yes, I'm gonna actually try and catch up for maybe next week or the week after.
Nice. Very, very nice.
I caught up on Beastars after all the talk and
Yes!
Datsu freaking out over this
Yes!
over a chicken student.
Yes! Oh my god! We can finally talk about Chicken Chapter. Chicken Girl is bae.
I really hope they keep doing kind of I guess one-off storylines in this world like that, because at the point that the chapter was serialized, kind of the main plot or the main drama between some of the characters already kicked off, and I thought it was just going to focus on that exclusively going forward. Just some of the drama between some of the characters. But then I got surprised by Chicken Girl part-time job and how she takes pride in her eggs.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful chapter that's world building, and also just a funny side story, almost a gaiden about someone else in like this world of herbivores and omnivores. I'm sorry, herbivores and carnivores. I guess some omnivores. I really like in that chapter when she gets really depressed because Legosi is the one who's eating her egg sandwiches, and then suddenly on a Wednesday he stops eating the egg sandwiches and says like they taste different now. there's just a page because she's sitting next to Legosi listening to them talk about, yeah, they're not as good anymore, and you just see her like slowly fall out of the chair. Yeah, now sorry, Seamus, go ahead.
I was considered a bit thin, like the argument she had with the other chicken over, like, what was the other chicken was like, yeah, you spend too much, spending too much time on this part-time job, getting almost obsessed with like trying to have the best quality eggs.
Right. I have a quick problem with that translation of that chapter though. When she goes back to bring her new set of eggs after like she realized that she was obsessing about her eggs too much, she's supposed to tell the lady at the store, I want you to return my salary back to what it was. And it kind of sounds like that, but I don't think it came across clear enough where the chicken was willing to say, oh, my eggs have dropped in quality, so I want you to return my pay to what it was. But yeah, that's a fantastic chapter. Seamus, what do you think about the story up to that point as well, with the main story?
It's kind of the whole drama around the drama club. And the confrontation between Legosi and, what was the name of the tiger again?
Bill.
I was going to say, is it Billy? And I'm like, there's no way Billy seems too normal. Yes, Bill the tiger.
It's a very plain name for big tiger.
I guess it's like Lewis the deer.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty plain as well. For some reason, Bill ranks even plainer in my head.
I feel like Legosi is the only one who has a really like, oh, he's definitely like oh, this is a guy to pay attention to because of his name alone. The rest of them are like Bill, Lewis. Wasn't the alpaca who was murdered like Tim or something?
Yeah, Tim, and like his best friend, the dog. His name is Jack.
Okay, yeah, I guess you're right. It's only Legosi has like the kind of the fancy name.
Well, I'm more convinced Lewis is like murdered that alpaca. I'm not sure why it is, but I'm like, it's him.
He kind of has the most ambition of the characters, and like I guess we could buy him pulling off a disguise because Tim was like super convinced that it was a carnivore, right, as he died.
So you guys don't think it's actually Legosi who murdered Tim at the beginning?
I don't know, because the first chapter really makes it seem like it wasn't, but then when the whole storyline with the dwarf rabbit, I forget her name,
Haru,
when he kind of grabs her and has that struggle of like him wanting to actually like eat her, I was like, oh, okay, so like he does actually wrestle with some of these like instinctual problems.
Yeah, the manga goes out of his way to really emphasize the plight of Legosi's dual nature. He struggles with the dark animal instinct impulse of wanting to hunt and kill. And he does have a violent side to him, Yeah, like the end of the drama arc when he goes on stage and just starts punching the shit out of Bill.
Yeah, they make it a point to to show that he has changed, but by the end of the arc, he has indulged a little bit on his wild side, whereas before he was completely like reserved about it.
Yeah, and during that
to the point that he repressed.
Yeah. During that fight with Bill even confronts him about him. Like, did you injure or maybe kill a rabbit before? Is that why like you got so upset?
Anna, do you think that rabbit's blood is from Haru?
Oh no.
I was gonna say, is she just setting rabbit's blood on the side?
I read ahead and I would just confirm that no, that's not the case. Haru is many things, but she's not like selling, her blood off carnivores.
She's no drug dealer.
No, she's just definitely sleeping with Lewis.
Oh yeah, there was that thing as well.
Drama.
I saw that and I was like, how did I not see this coming? That's like the most predictable thing.
They should call it Beast Rama. Yeah, I still really like that manga. I look forward to it. Every single time I see chapters posted.
I would say the more recent chapters, the art isn't as, I don't know if I got used to it. It isn't as unique as before, or maybe it's because they're like in the first couple chapters you have a lot more experimental like panels of just eyes, like we talked about when we did our triple dip. Now a lot more stuff has been filled in. Yeah,
that may be the artist kind of consolidating a little bit so that he can actually like get more chapters out. But I do feel like when he does outside scenarios and not just like in the halls of the school, it's a little bit more whimsical. Like the architecture, when you see like a whole building, the building's usually kind of warped. At least to the point that I've read.
Yeah, and also the night sky too, like the clouds and the moon and everything. It looks almost like something out of like oh my god, I'm hitting a brain fart.
Famous Starry
Van
Night?
Gogh? Yeah, Van Gogh.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
I was like, there's only a couple of things you could probably be talking about right now.
Yeah, I don't know. The artist, the mangaka also uses a lot of screen tone, the shaders in really interesting ways. That it's almost something you find out of like a good shoujo manga. Remember when we read Sailor Moon, and they had a lot of screen tone that was like cut into patterns and things like that.
Oh yeah. I miss that stuff sometimes. I think that's one of the things my eyes are not that accustomed to like noticing.
Well, that's because with shonen manga,
like white noise.
With shonen manga, they don't focus on a lot of that kind of stuff, and you're just kind of mostly looking at the characters and the action and their movements. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say that reminded me, like this kind of feels more like a shoujo manga in that instead of focused on like people in high school and dealing with high school drama, just without the kind of primary emphasis being on the romantic aspect of it.
Yeah, most shonen romance manga tends to focus on the male harem, so this is very different.
But you were saying, I still think there's still like that. The eyes are definitely just on a blank panel are still like happening. Another thing I noticed too is a lot of like triangle kind of panels, kind of overlays, or
the panels like cross over each other, or there's panels inside panels.
Yeah, but it's just like a lot of them seem to be triangles, like right angle triangles, or just something I never really like noticed before. And just like the amount of them in the volume, the stuff I was reading last week.
Morgana, you were away for a little bit. Have you been reading anything?
Yeah, let me double check, see what I've been reading. Yeah, I read a few things. Nothing that super stands out. I did read Beastars Volume 4.
Oh, snap!
Which I think we talked about a little bit in our Discord, our admin channel. But yeah, I finally read that, and trying to remember it now.
Things happen in Volume 4. We won't give spoilers because it's not officially out yet, but yeah.
No. Yeah, I got an advanced copy again through my connections.
Nice.
I mean, through being a reviewer, it's not that glamorous. Yeah, no, things happen. I was surprised by a lot of what's going on, and I think I said this in the admin channel too. Like, I appreciate the drama and the complexity of Legoshi and Haru's relationship, but I do really like Juno. I think she's kind of sweet. I mean, they kind of took a bit of a turn with her, and she's a little bit ambitious, which I was not expecting. But but I like her a lot.
So go ahead, Dark.
When it did that Juno twist, I wonder if that was like, because it felt like a real sharp turn when it did it. So I wonder if it was like, oh, we gotta be careful not to make Juno like a wolf version of Haru. So we gotta make it different. We gotta make it different. So like, it almost felt like it was almost like an editorial change. But in a good way, it almost felt like they were actively thinking of like how to make these characters unique and pop.
Yeah, at the end of the manga, Paru Itagaki was talking about how she she liked Juno, and she liked her to be like soft and pretty, but also kind of wanted to add a little bit more substance to her character. So kind of made her, a little bit more goal oriented and ambitious. I don't think that Juno is like, I mean, she's not like Louis, really. Like she is kind of set up like him in some ways, but he's intense, man.
Yeah,
he's got a lot going on.
She almost seems like a middle point, like a gradient between like Legoshi and Louis.
Yeah, I also just kind of feel bad for her because Legoshi is kind of a ditz. Mm-hmm. I love him, but he's a little bit of an airhead.
Yeah.
Is Volume 4 the one that ends with a little explanation about the world of adults? Yes! That was the one I wanted you to get to. You had that question on our when we guessed on Manga Mavericks.
And I'm fascinated by the answer and confused a little bit. Like like I just there's a lot I don't understand about the biology of these humanoid animals. Because a lot of the things that Itagaki has set up have been very straightforward. Like, this is how animals work, right? There's a bit in here where they explain that, like, herbivores can't see in the dark, but carnivores can. And I thought about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's really true. Like, there aren't really any herbivores that can see in the dark. There are not really any nocturnal herbivores. So to that degree, it's like very true to, what we know in real life. But then there's this explanation of contraception and things like that, and it's much more loosey goosey in terms of like what's biologically possible.
Yeah,
fascinating. It's fascinating.
Oh yeah, and that will come into play.
Oh, good.
In the future.
I'm so intrigued. Is this where jackalopes come from? Like.
Oh yeah, that kind of stuff does come up.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Wow. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that was very funny. I did miss our chicken friend. She was not in it this time.
Oh, I'm sorry. She's a
Legomu.
one-time thing.
She is?
Yeah. Does she appear in the background?
Maybe once or twice, but like never back as like any kind of like has a story or anything that we follow.
I want a spin-off.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the next best thing. There are other standalone chapters like the Chicken Girl one, which are also like very, very good.
Good. But also I want a spin-off that's called like Egg Salad Days. It's just about Legomu and her trials.
Her egg salad hustle.
Yeah, just like trying to make the perfect eggs. God.
Speaking of Paru Itagaki, I've been reading a little bit more of Paru no Gravity, which is her nonfiction manga. And it's really funny because she, I think I talked about how her eldest sister is just, always happy and smiling and like never changes. The second sister is the one where Paru learned all like her dirty stuff.
Oh, jeez.
Like she was known in elementary school, like Paru was known as the person who knew what like an affair was and all sorts of like adult terms, because whenever she would play with her second sister, she would always tell her, they play dolls, and she'd be like, and now the man comes in and she's having an affair with them, and probably be like, what's that? It's like, oh, that's when like they're cheating on like the husband. And she would give all these fun explanations to make it like more dramatic and more soap opera-y.
This reminds me of the dynamic between the sisters in Ranma. I don't know how like familiar you guys are with Ranma half, but like Akane's like oldest sister is like the nice one who does all the cooking and cleaning.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and the second one is like the scheming one that's like, really into money.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a familiar dynamic.
Yeah.
That's funny. I also read Beastars Volume 5 because I got my
Hell yeah.
review copy of that. Yeah, wow. A lot of stuff happened in that volume.
Oh yeah, that's almost the conclusion of the Shishigumi arc, Darfox.
Okay. Yeah.
That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, I don't wanna say too much, but a lot happened, and Legoshi seems to be like figuring out his shit a little bit. Also kind of losing his shit a little bit at the end there. Like, what's going on? I enjoyed it. I really like Gohin, the panda.
Oh, he's great. No nonsense, shit-talking panda.
Yeah, but also, like, a wholesome dad.
Yep.
He's good.
Yeah, he has dedicated his life to, like, helping carnivores in like these rough situations, and he's like super weathered because of it.
I just love that he's like, you have to control your carnivore instincts. Here is a porn mag of bunnies, and also I will help you storm the fortress of this like really terrifying group of criminals.
I don't know how you felt about that scene, but like when I was reading it, it almost felt like I wasn't reading Beastars in that moment, because it was so shown in action compared to everything else that had happened before. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I liked it, but it was like really different.
Yeah, well, in general, these last couple volumes feel. I mean, I know that the story started with a murder, right? But these last couple volumes feel like really intense and really dark, in a way that I wasn't quite expecting when I set out on this journey. A lot of stuff is happening to Haru in this volume that made me super uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
Louis is like, I'm worried about him, genuinely worried, because it kind of leaves off at a cliffhanger for what's going on with him.
Interesting stuff will happen to him.
I believe that. I figured he'd stick around more, but I was just like, oh man. And I really just like the way he dealt with his, like, I appreciate him being there at the end of that volume. I was like, oh good, okay, he's an intense character, man.
Oh yeah.
He's a lot.
It kind of plays into like Legoshi and Louis, how they kind of coming from the same place in some ways, and they kind of want the same thing, but they're so different, and they end up in like different kind of like, it's like they start from the same spot, but they end up in different places.
Yeah, they're like really good foils for each other. I'm appreciating that more, the play on the two of them. Because at first, I didn't think Louis was going to be as big a deal of a character, or I didn't realize that he was going to play such a big role. I thought he was going to kind of be like the rival, or like
the first antagonist, and they'll move on or something.
Yeah, something like that. But it's way more complicated than that.
Complicated is a good way to describe these stories.
Yeah, it's super complicated, but I'm enjoying it still.
So the anime will cover up to that point and kind of the conclusion. Like in the 6th volume, you kind of get like the end of like everything.
Oof! I wonder if they animated that scene with Haru and the bad guy.
They did a little bit.
That stuff was like super like woo.
Yeah, that was really, really hard to read. I have to say, that was a lot. I was like, this is not, again, it got really dark and kind of not what I expected.
Like there's a couple of scenes like that like borderline exploitative, like borderline, like it seems like you're watching exploitation cinema or something. But like it kind of flirts with that and brings it back a little bit. But like I feel like a manga can get away with that, but like animation is a little tougher.
Yeah,
they skip over a lot of scenes in the anime.
That's probably. I mean, it's harder to animation reaches a wider audience too, and an audience that can be more vocally critical, I think, than a manga audience. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably a good choice on their part.
There's also kind of like, at least maybe this is just like a personal difference in my brain, but like when I read manga, there's a lot sharper of an authorial intent because it's the manga plus their assistants. And right. Of course, like editors are involved, and it's not just one person working on it. But like it kind of feels like, oh, this is coming from this one person, and if I disagree with it, it's kind of just like a disagreement with a person, right? It's like I kind of don't like what you went there, but whatever. Like this is a pretty complex work, and you're working at it. But when it's ever like an anime series, it always feels like that. It feels more like a committee fucked up. It's like a bunch of people made the mistake. Like, not one of you brought this shit up. Like what's going on?
Well, Volume 4 of Beastars is coming out this month, and that opens with like some stuff happening between Lewis and Haru. Like that's like the opening. So
yes,
and that was in the anime.
Saucy anime.
Yes. We'll talk about the anime when it gets released on Netflix, I'm sure, but
eventually.
Whenever it's out of jail.
I'm guessing February or Marchish is when we'll see it.
I think Dorohedoro is also Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I think I heard somebody complain about
just hit
that.
Japanese Netflix, I think.
Yeah. That one, I've only read the first volume of Dorohedoro, but I watched the trailer, and that looks like it's going to be ridiculous fun,
Yes.
weird romp.
Kind of similar with Beastars that Dorohedoro is a lot of good world building. It's very densely packed.
I just in that first volume, I just like the absurdity of it all too, the absurd character of
Kaiman, yeah, the
Kaiman,
lizard head, yeah.
And just and I can't remember the woman's name, but she's
Nikaido.
great.
Yeah.
Nikaido, she's great. It was just fun. I just enjoyed reading that first volume.
Awesome. Okay. Well, you just mentioned Beastars, and I have my volumes 6 of Beastars sitting here, the English edition, because it's finally out. And so that means we can talk about certain things that are past the point of the first anime season as well. So I guess I will say spoilers ahead of time if you don't want to be spoiled on future Beastars content. I'll timestamp this so you can skip it.
If you're the poor soul who only watched the anime series and isn't reading the manga, then this will be spoilers for you.
So Morgana, we can finally talk about the fate of Louis.
Oh my god, yeah. I think I feel like in the chat on Discord I was like, what the fuck?
See, you had just mentioned about we were oh, wait till you get to this point in Beastars.
Yes.
You see, Beastars does not disappoint,
No.
Louis becoming the leader of the Shishigumi and becoming a crime boss.
I mean, on the one hand, okay, yeah, that makes a certain amount of sense given his personality. On the other hand, there are a bunch of lions, and also he ate meat.
Yeah, Louis is a carnivore.
Or not biologically, but through his actions.
He's trying. Which, wild. I just, it's so weird to think about, as humans, many of us eat meat. I eat meat. And I don't really think about, I try to be aware of, practice, farming practices and, things like that, but I'm not so hung up on the fact that I'm eating animals, right? It doesn't bother me enough to stop. But when you think about it from the perspective of eating other people, it definitely has a different connotation. He's basically engaging in cannibalism, regardless of what kind of meat it is, and that's that really threw me.
It's so good though, because the contrast with Legoshi, how Legoshi is now basically in the spotlight, and then now Louis is switching places and going into the shadows.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. Their relationship is very interesting. And I think when I started reading this series, I didn't really realize how big a deal Louis was going to be as a character. I didn't realize how, because I thought, oh, it's about Legoshi, and so it's going to focus on that. But this, how they're kind of opposites in every way, and they both kind of revolve around Haru. It's really well done and really fascinating. And it's not it doesn't feel heavy-handed. We've taken the stereotypically good character because they're an herbivore and made them a bad character. I think it's done very subtly and delicately, and it's very much about their different personalities and how that personality is not necessarily inherent to their biology.
Yeah, the thing I like about the whole inversion is it's kind of like a fall from grace, but it isn't a huge change in personality. Louis is still Louis in a lot of ways. He's still kind of the same Louis he was in the beginning. It's just things haven't worked out in his favor, and he's kind of lost composure. And now he's in this really compromising position where he's basically, this is the only thing he could have done to survive.
He is such a drama queen, though. Can we please acknowledge this? He's so extra.
Yeah. Again, very different from Legoshi, right? Legoshi is the kind of person who would just bottle everything up and not be expressive about things. But this deer, you're gonna know about it. if he doesn't like it or if he's having a problem, you're gonna know about it.
It's so funny because Paru Itagaki includes their zodiac signs at the back when she does sketches and things like that. And it's funny to me because Legoshi is supposed to be an Aries, I believe.
Yes.
and I'm an Aries, so I feel like, and in many ways I relate to him, but it's funny because Aries are usually stereotyped as having a personality more like Louis, very like strong personality. So I always just kind of find it amusing. I'm like, you're like the least stereotypical Aries ever. Quiet, unobtrusive. Although I have to say, he does have this, even if he is kind of a quiet character who keeps to himself, he does have this kind of stubborn strength also.
Yep.
He's very like determined to like do the right thing and like figure out how to like be the right kind of person, the kind of person that he believes he should be.
There are things I cannot say because they have not been covered yet, but you will get to learn a little bit more about Legosi's backstory. Though there is that there's a flashback chapter in this volume that gives some truths about Jack's origins and like the origin of dogs.
Which is just really weird.
I like Jack a lot. He is a good boy. And I like that his relationship with Legoshi also, which I think you see a little bit more too in volume 7. But yeah, that little flashback made me really sad for dogs, but also really I really enjoyed seeing kind of how this world's prejudices work, because you see prejudices in children so clearly, right? Like kids have no filter. And so if they're being taught certain things, they just go for it. And so to go back to their childhood and explore that kind of highlights a lot of how this world works, I think.
Yeah, the other kids like casually mention how Jack is like genetically like smarter than them, so like of course he gets all the answers right. Which
is so bizarre, like such a bizarre thing. Like, oh well, you're a different, species, so genetically you're better. It's like such a weird. And we do talk about animals like that. We talk about dogs being smart or whatever, or like certain animals have certain like inherent traits, but we don't consider individual animals when we talk about this, like, and they have as much individual personality as people do oftentimes. So
Kid Legoshi and Kid Jack are so cute.
So
cute. Two pups.
Oh, Darfox, this volume also has the little chapter on Bill, where Bill laments Lewis's like disappearance. You always talk about how Bill is a jerk, but like he's a little bit more like nuanced.
Yeah,
he's again, when the series first started, it kind of felt like they were setting up Bill as like the main villain or something, because he was such like a prideful tiger who was into doping on rabbit blood and weird shit like that. But like he like over time we just learned that he's kind of just like a dumbass, but like sometimes his heart can't be in the right place.
I know. I'm almost mad that I'm being made to see his like better side. You know what I mean? Like I was ready. I'm prepared to hate him. He's doing the wrong thing. He's eating people, and that's bad. Or not, he's not actually eating people. He's eating parts of people.
He's tasted meat. He did taste meat, didn't he? I believe he did.
Yeah, at the black market. But then you kind of get this like other sense that, he's, like all real people and good complex characters, he's more complicated than that. And I'm mad that I don't hate him enough.
Pari got you, Morgana?
She did.
He's still an asshole. Like, you don't love him or anything. But
no,
you're like, okay,
no.
I kind of see where you're coming from. He probably had an upbringing. He probably had his parents were probably on some shit.
Yeah, no, like if we were like classmates or something, if I knew him in real life, we would not be buddies.
Yeah,
I'd hate him probably, but I would not be given glimpses into his like interior if we knew each other. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
You're granted certain things by the function of the story, certain perspectives.
It's only gonna get better from here on out.
Yeah,
that's the great thing about Beastars. It's just gonna keep building.
Yeah, I really liked Volume 7, and I'm like waiting on the edge of my seat for Volume 8. So I gotta know what happens.
Yeah, I think that this next story arc that you're into, Morgana, does such a better job at creating stakes and danger than the previous story arc, which was like, when they raided Shishigumi headquarters.
Yeah.
It kind of just happens, especially in the anime, but even in the manga, it kind of just happens out of nowhere. Like, she gets kidnapped. when we gotta go fucking save her. And you have the great moments where like Legoshi tries to like rally Lewis and Lewis is, you know, he's on his own shit where like he's trying to keep his status, so like he's conflicted, he doesn't do it, that leads him to like a negative spiral. So like there's still good shit in it, but like compared to what we're getting into now with the volume 6 and volume 7, there's I feel like there's like this building dread that I really, really enjoy. And again, we're not going to spoil, but like it when it explodes into violence, it's a lot more horrific and a lot more like weird. Like I had such conflicting feelings when I was reading it. It wasn't like the Shishigumi were like, oh shit, like, oh, she's in there punching fucking tigers. How cool is that? Or lions, he's punching lions. Like when the violence happens in this chapter, it's just a lot of conflicting feelings and a lot of like sadness. And I liked it a lot more. I think it fit Beastars a lot better.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point, which, like, I really did not see the Shishigumi thing coming. It seemed all very, like, benign, and then suddenly it's, like, life or death situation immediately, and for some reason these mobsters stole a teenage girl, and, you know, like, just suddenly. But yeah, now it's, like, building and building a little bit. Even just in, like, volume 7 by itself, I feel like things are building up. So yeah, I'm definitely excited. I love a murder mystery.
Good old whodunit.
Yeah. I'm mad that I haven't figured it out, but I suspect it's probably very purposeful that I can't. So
Yeah, that's how it's designed. You'll find out soon enough.
yeah.
So this is the volume, Morgana, where we finally get back to the murder of Tem.
Yes.
In fact, even at the beginning, there's a chapter where the principal of Cheriton, Gon?
Yes, I think so.
Yes, he is. He's talking about. He's at this convention with all the other like school leaders, and they decide that whoever captures the killer, they will be the next Beastar. And then that chapter ends, and it's the perspective of the killer, and the killer meets Legoshi in the hallway, and Legoshi asks him, "Why are you smiling?" So this confirms that, you know, Legoshi is not the killer, which I think we already knew, but you know,
For sure.
Yeah, there could always be a last minute twist that he totally lost and he didn't remember or something like that, which I think would have been bad. But
Yeah, I think I would have quit the manga if that happened.
yeah,
Legoshi killed Tem all along. It'd be bad writing.
it's somebody else, and it's something that Legoshi knows.
Well, yes, at the end of this manga, he gets attacked by the killer and almost killed, actually, until he kisses him, which freaks the killer out.
There's a lot of, like, this is also the manga where they show the security guard at school, which is like the big snake.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
Rokume. Yeah.
I like him.
There's a lot of like erotic stuff in this volume.
Oh,
Like-
was it like when he wraps Legoshi all around?
Yeah.
This was the big BL volume. There was that, and then the killer thing, and wasn't that other character introduced also?
Oh, Pina, the fuck
Pina. Yeah. This is the BL volume.
boy. The beautiful Bishonen.
I kind of love him. He sucks, but I kind of love him.
Yeah, he's like this really openly like conceited herbivore.
Talks about how carnivores are like lesser beings.
He feels like what I thought Louis was going to be like.
Yeah.
And he's not like that at all.
Yeah, the reveal of, we mentioned Rokume, the rattlesnake. It's weird that it's a rattlesnake and not an anaconda because he's huge.
Yeah.
But also, snakes in the world of Beastars don't have limbs because snakes in real life don't have limbs.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really, really interesting.
Yeah, if you actually go back to the very first volume, you do see a snake in the background, and they're like this, right? Like they don't have limbs, but like it's just drawn in the background. You have to be looking for it. So it's interesting. Like clearly, this world was always like there's a consistency to this world that's always existed in Paro Itagaki's mind, and we're just now seeing certain details here and there. But yeah, like my first impulse would have been to like draw limbs on the snake somehow, but that doesn't really make sense in a lot of ways, and doesn't make sense to Paro Itagaki either.
Yeah, Just thinking now, I've never read A Centaur's Life, but it's a manga that has animal people. And there is I was flipping through it because I used to have to check to see if it was appropriate or if I had to wrap it, and I often had to wrap it at work. And they had like snake people who were like supermodels, but it was basically just like a human body with like a really long neck and like snake head.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would expect, right?
Right. It was weird. I mean, I guess in Centaur's Life, they're all like partially human, so I guess it makes a certain amount of sense, but it's a very weird look.
Yeah, it just fits Beastars so much more to have him be just a big old snake. They have to find a way to live in society and coexist with all these other, types of people.
What's interesting to me, though, is like big old snakes exist in real life.
Yeah.
Humanoid wolves do not. So they really kind of bridge the gap, right, between like this world and like and reality. And I think it's interesting that she couldn't figure out a way to make him any more humanoid other than like, language, giving him language.
Haru Itagaki does make the choice of like the animals with limbs. She gives them hands. And I think that like humanizes a lot of them. Because in contrast, you have Nagabe with Wise Beasts of the Wizarding Wisdoms, and the manga you mentioned last week, Morgana, Love on the Other Side. Like the animals, the anthropomorphized animals that Nagabe draws, like they don't have human hands; they have hoof hands.
Yeah, frequently.
Mm-hmm.
It depends, but yeah, frequently they still have like animalistic hands, paws. I remember in Wise Beasts, there was a unicorn character who had hooves, and he was like drinking tea, and we were all very confused about how he was holding the teacup.
So the last thing I want to mention here in Beastars Volume 7 is we get a little bit more of Louis being the crime boss. I mean, he's on the cover of Volume 7. But he starts to develop this friendship with one of the lions, Ibuki, who's concerned about him, like, putting on, like, a farce of like trying to like have wine and smoke and eat meat. He actually brings him like a salad because he wants him to like not fall over and like be their boss. But Louis, he's too prideful. Oh, that's right. Juno shows up, and now Juno knows the secret too.
Yeah, Louis is like the most self-destructive.
Juno is the only one who knows the secret at this point because nobody else technically knows. Lugosi only knows that Louis dropped out of school. Not that he become a freaking crime boss of the Lions. Yeah, Morgana, you're saying like Louis is self-destructive. He is like,
yeah,
he's so dramatic.
So dramatic, and like to a certain degree, I get it. Like he's had a rough life, etc., etc. I'm watching him like, kid, what are you doing? Like, what's happening? You just did a complete 180.
Yeah,
it's interesting hearing this conversation. Thinking about kind of like some of the stuff that's coming up, and of course, I don't mean to tease too much. I'm not going to say anything, but it's like even in moments when like Louis does like decide to like lean on peers and people who want to help him, and also just pitch in and help himself. It's also extremely dramatic and overwrought.
Seriously, I understand why he was the star of the drama club. He's extremely, extremely dramatic.
I do like the inversion of Louis and Legoshi, where like you had the carnivore and the herbivore, and the carnivore was kind of like in the darkness, both kind of like figuratively and also like he like Legoshi never wanted to be in the spotlight. He wanted obscurity. He didn't want notoriety. And now we have like these roles switching where Louis is in the black market and he's like literally in the criminal underworld, and Legoshi is like literally just like Nancy Drew trying to catch a killer at school. and they announced that, or like they established that like, okay, the person who catches this killer is going to be next Beastars. So you're like immediately like, as far as like dramatic irony is concerned, you as a viewer or reader, you're like instantly like, oh shit, they just fast tracked Legoshi to be like the Beastars, like the titular Beastars is Legoshi. As far as we know, because he's like hot on the tail of this murderer.
I just have to correct you, Dark Fox. You keep saying Beastars, which is the title, but in the world, the title is Beastar. It is not plural, and that's a very specific distinction in the story. So I'm just correcting you here. I'm being snooty about it.
But maybe they are all Beastars within.
Don't spoil the ending of Beastars.
Oh yeah, well, we don't know how it ends, but Beastars could be the friends that made along the way.
I can't. I'm gonna laugh so hard in the new chapters that I'm reading, which is like going into some kind of climax. If they have a line that like "We are all Beastars," I will laugh so hard.
Oh, I think it deserves it. They should have that line. And it just be like multiple page spreads, like the final chapter, just like every single character you ever saw in the manga, looking all into the sky all wistfully.
Shonen manga.
Yeah. And yeah, this is the one where Legoshi gets shaved. Turns into kind of like, they shave off all his gray hairs, and now he's kind of like, looks like a white fox.
I was sad. I love his luxurious mane. I love wolves. I don't know if I've mentioned this. Like, wolves growing up were like my favorite. I was a wolf girl. Some girls are horse girls. Some girls are wolf girls.
A wolf girl, yeah.
I was a wolf girl. Hardcore. So I have a lot of feelings about Legoshi and his hair.
Yeah, but he gets shaved by Panda Man Gohin as a part of his training to get over meat. And actually, he starts helping Gohin, like, how should I say this? Like, tackle? Rehabilitate is a better word. Rehabilitate,
quote unquote.
Yeah, patients that have, like, committed, like, I forgot what the term they use. It's like carnivism? It's not cannibalism, because it's not humans eating humans, but... Oh,
it would be carnivorism, just eating meat.
Yeah, and that's, they also introduced that thing where carnivores play a game of, like, tug of war with their teeth.
Oh, yeah.
It's taboo in front of herbivores because it looks so intense and scary. And Legoshi loses. He fights against Bill, and he's lost all his, like, bite strength.
I will say, though, I don't think there are many carnivores who could stand up against a tiger. Tigers have really, really strong jaws, and they're huge.
Yeah, it's explained in the story that he lost it because of he's been going through his training, and the strength moved into his arms. Like, now he can, like whap people into the walls.
This is one of those moments where, like, the shonen manga origins of Beastars, like, really, really, like, show themselves. You know, there's that time where they assault the Yakuza hideout. You know, that was pretty shonen manga-y, and now, like, Legoshi learning new skills and abilities and ways to fight people, and having some sort of, like, lore or mechanic behind it, explaining it. It's like, this is very shonen manga-y.
Or, like, the image of him meditating in front of a giant shank of meat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's very, like, training montage.
I thought that was a really sweet moment, too, where, like, he gets over that fear of meat, and he's able to, like, he wants to bury them, and he also learned the names of all, like, the victims. But while Legoshi trains to become, like, to hunt down, like, the killer of Tem, this also includes, like, this, like, I wanted to ask Morgana when she read the preview for this volume if they were going to include that chapter about these strippers in the black market, and they did! And they didn't censor any of it, because there's a story here about an herbivore working as a stripper in the black market. You know, once again, connecting, like, appetite with sexual desire. And she also works as a sex worker, too. And she almost gets killed. But Louis comes in and saves her. We get some more good Louis stuff here, too. Like, Louis has a confrontation with his father.
Oh, yeah.
Oguma is such an interesting character.
Their relationship is strange. I mean, I get it. It's supposed to be. This is why Louis is the way he is. But, I was just like, man, what is going on?
Oguma is one of those characters that, he's very much like he comes off as the cold, uncaring, like, calculating adult. And he's really awkward at showing his emotions that he actually loves his son. We barely get to meet him in this volume, but, like, he's good. I like him a lot. I wish he was used a little bit more, but...
Does that sex worker come back at any point, or was that just like a little thing for Louis to get some perspective?
She does not come back.
Okay, I was wondering. I kept expecting her to come back, and I haven't seen her again, so I wasn't sure.
The bar that she introduces Louis to, where the master actually makes like vegetable juice, that bar will come back. It'll be like Louis' go-to bar for like business deals and stuff. Oh, I forgot. At the end of this volume, Legoshi and Haru have like this incident in the library where Legoshi is like concerned about what's gonna happen. So he's just like, "Haru, will you marry me?"
He is so serious. What a serious boy.
I love the reaction because it's like a 2-page spread, and like you see somebody in the background drop their books because they're like, "What just happened?" And Haru's reaction afterwards is like, "Why? What?"
0 to 60.
Mm-hmm. Even though it also shows like she was propositioned by one of the boys that she had sex with. Who was like, "Hey, can I come by again?" And she's like, "No, I'm a one-man kind of girl now."
A one-wolf bunny.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Darfox, this volume has one of your favorite chapters about Sheila, the cheetah.
Yeah, it's the last chapter of the volume, actually, so it's kind of like a weird one to go off on, because it is, like, completely standalone. It's similar to the Chicken Girl.
Legomu, yep.
But also similar to Chicken Girl. This is, like, Parorigaki does it sometimes, where they put in a chapter that's, like, completely out of nowhere, doesn't follow the main plot, but like really just like fleshes out the world and really puts you in like the perspective of the people in this world. And this chapter is basically about kind of like this social media fad about people like carnivores taking selfies with herbivores. But like because it's kind of just like a fad and nobody's being earnest about it, there's some hurt feelings being created because like they're putting out these pictures and getting out this like clout, but they're not really friends, right? So like some of the characters just find it like performative and annoying. But then like a friendship, like a legit friendship, gets made throughout the chapter between I believe it was a sheep and a cheetah girl.
Yes, the sheep, yeah. Peach, and Sheila, who is a member of the drama club.
Yeah, I guess this isn't a random character then. This is a background character that's like reused in a bigger way, which is very nice.
I think they mentioned like in an earlier chapter that she also was working at an SM club before she got scouted to the drama club too.
Yeah, that was something they talked about early in the series that they never really talked about again, but like every single person in the drama club has some weird quirk or background story. It's almost like they were scouted specifically because of their uniqueness, but then they never really, I feel like they never really fleshed that out that bit, like why were they scouted, who scouted them, was it the Pelican guy who's the director?
Mm-hmm. He's the head of the club, I think, club president. I think they mentioned Kai the mongoose was raised by hyenas. Obviously, Louis' connection is that he was like sold on the black market.
Which is supposed to be like a big secret, right? So that would hint that somebody knew that, or is Louis the one that's collecting these oddballs?
That seems like something Louis would do. His band of misfit toys.
I'm gonna tease Morgana here, but we don't know the secret of Legoshi yet.
Gasp! They were kind of hinting at something in Volume 9, which I read. But yeah, I don't know anything yet.
It's funny to think about that Legoshi being like an extremely weird or unique character actually has an extra secret that we don't know about.
Right?
At least not yet. Not till Volume 10.
Cannibalism. He eats other wolves.
This is the volume, Darfox. We now know who killed Tem at the beginning of Beastars.
Yep.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, Morgana,
I'm trying to remember. It's been a couple months since I read it, so I was trying to remember what happened.
This is the volume that starts out with like an amputation.
Dismemberment. Yeah.
Was it Anteater character? I think.
Mm-hmm.
Gets his arm ripped off by accident.
Yes.
which I was just like, wait, what? Did that happen? I had to like read it several times to be like, no, that really happened. Okay.
You know, Paru Itagaki was like, I can't, this is going to shock the readers. It's going to be great.
And she was right.
Yeah, you can see how she sets it up in the previous page, because it's like I believe it's a 2-page spread of like the actual arm getting pulled out. But the previous page, it's like 3 panels where Legoshi's kind of thinking to himself, and in the background you see kind of like the horseplay that's happening. So you just kind of get, even if you're not really paying attention to the background, you're just paying attention to Legoshi and the word bubbles. You kind of get used to like the anteater, and I think it's a panther, his panther friend.
Yeah, he's helping him stretch out or something, and then
Yeah,
2-page spread of like, Panther's holding the arm, but it's not attached to the anteater anymore.
And I love how like the explanation was like, well, this happens sometimes.
yeah.
And I was just like, excuse me?
Yeah, it's something like it happens, a handful of times in like a decade. So like, every few classes, every few like groups of kids, it might happen. It's just a common thing in the world, a common accident that can happen.
Yeah, certain carnivores are strong enough to rip limbs of other animals off. It makes sense in the animal kingdom, so it's been recreated here.
Is there any chimpanzees in this manga?
I don't think I've seen any.
There's a baboon.
primates.
There's a baboon in the
Oh, yeah.
in the theater class. I think baboons are also really really strong.
I don't know. Are they like this? That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, animals that rip other animals' faces and arms off. Oh, like chimpanzees.
Yeah, chimpanzees are fucking scary, bro.
That's interesting though, because chimpanzees are like very closely related to humans, and I wonder if, I guess that there's a baboon, then she's not purposefully excluding primates entirely, but baboons are less closely related. I don't think there are any gorillas. Gorillas are really strong.
Oh yeah, gorillas would be just like super because like once you review the killer, she purposely picks just like a really really strong animal. But God, imagine if there was a gorilla involved, that'd just be like a whole other ballgame.
I think I remember seeing a gorilla later on as a police officer.
Oh, okay. I am actually pretty afraid of gorillas. Like, I'm probably never gonna come upon one.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to come upon a moose, which are also terrifying. But gorillas are really male gorillas are really scary animals.
Or a bear.
Yeah, I don't normally have a big fear of bears, but this volume definitely made me have some thoughts about that.
Yeah, so it's revealed that Riz the bear, who is a member of the drama club, was the one who killed and ate Tem. And it's only revealed because the other club members noticed how, like, Legoshi and Riz both were strangely calm during, like, this accident. And they're the ones that go, like, help deliver the anteater to the nurse's office and, like, take his arm, too. And that's when Legoshi just casually at the end of that first chapter says, "You're the one who devoured Tem, aren't you?" After all this build-up, it was somebody we have not met before.
Yeah, I kind of thought that might be the case. I was favoring Bill for a lot of this, but I was like, I bet I'm wrong, because he's already kind of made himself out to be kind of in a morally gray space, so it's too obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Riz is present throughout the whole manga. He's just not like a main character
Yeah.
or even a side character. So it was fun rereading like the manga as it was releasing in English. You're like, oh my god, there's fucking Riz just chilling in the background.
He was always there.
Yeah, he's the quiet, unassuming one.
The killer lives in our ranks. Yeah, but his whole like weird. So the setup is that like bears are really super duper strong, so they have to take this medication to prevent them from overpowering their peers. And at some point, Riz just stops taking it.
Yeah,
and
it's
kinda
because
loses it.
Yeah, he develops a friendship with Tem because he's always like trying to be like in the background, not be known, be very quiet, and like he's kind of hiding who he really is. But then Tem sees through that and is like, "Riz, you're kind of scary," and so they start talking. And the fact that Tem is approaching him and kind of trying to like want to like get to know him, he feels like this connection to Tem. He's excited about like possibly revealing who he really is. This the medication he needs to take to suppress his strength actually has like really painful side effects. He gets like really bad migraines, but they've kind of like tapered off since he started developing a friendship with Tem, and he decides, do I really need these pills? So he stops taking them, and then he starts growing bigger and stronger. And when he reveals this to Tem freaks out, and then that's when the attack happened. Like, Riz grabbed him, and his strength, like, pierced his arm, made him bleed. Tem ran off. And, you get to see this through Riz's version, and in Riz's eyes, Tem is saying, we're best friends, and, like, I understand you, and we'll always be together. And then it just cuts to this, like, single page of, like, Riz's face, and it's covered with blood and guts, and it's, oh god, it's so messed up.
Yeah, well, and like I said, I'm not generally afraid of bears in the abstract. I mean, bears definitely live in New England and in places I've lived before, but this definitely made me realize how scary a predator they could be if they wanted to be.
Yeah.
Like, don't get a bear mad, I would never approach one, but I don't really think about it that often. And now after that, I was like, really, you don't want to get on the wrong side of a bear. It's hard because they're so cute, right? Like, they're, teddy bears are cute, and like baby bears are cute. It's kind of hard to think of them as like scary predators, especially since in many ways they kind of keep to themselves, and they don't really, they don't eat people generally. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if a bear would eat an alpaca. Tem's an alpaca, right?
Yeah.
Well, the thing with like the setup is that you have the physiology of a bear, but he kind of has the personality of like a broken human or a human who's like dealing with some issues.
Right.
So it's almost like I don't know, like, this is a weird comparison, but it almost feels like an Akira Tetsuo situation where like somebody who needs help or somebody who's in trouble has like freakish supernatural powers and they're lashing out, right? It's almost like that kind of like dynamic where like, this person in our human world, wouldn't be this dangerous, probably.
Or you could also say like people who do commit murders, and I'm thinking of serial killers frequently, but they often have like strange reasonings for committing these things, and I wonder, some of it's kind of justifying these things to themselves, and that's almost kind of what it feels like Riz is doing, is like justifying this urge. Which is scary. That's like really scary to me, like that he could he could do this and then like live his life, and he doesn't seem to regret it. It's kind of hard to tell. He's got like, his personality is very, almost like he's a sociopath.
Yeah, he seems very mellow most of the time, right? Like there was like a show of strength when Legoshi confronted him in the hallway. It is a really cool panel where he just kind of like scratches the roof, and he all just like gets big and buff. But like besides stuff like that, he's just like really calm about like killing who he considers like probably his best friend ever.
And can we all appreciate Pina, please? I love Pina. I love that whole thing where Legoshi's like, "Hey, can I get your number?" And Pina's like, "The fuck?" Like, I was like, "These bros."
Yeah, specifically what happens is like Legoshi is about to like duke it out with Riz and probably die. And then Pina like had overheard the conversation and like busts in between them and like delivers the anteater's bag to like the nurse's office. And he's about to just casually walk away, and Legoshi is like, no. So the three of them sit down at the cafeteria, and Riz is like, I'm gonna kill both of you. Probably starting with you, Pina. But then Pina is like, well, if you do that, the police are definitely gonna like figure out that it was you. So maybe you shouldn't do that. Basically, like, able to like keep him at bay. But yeah, it's kind of like now Pina's a target, so Legoshi has to protect him.
It's good reasoning because you're like, you have to like wonder, like, wait, what happened? The police caught this guy, so like, after Peanut saying that, like I started thinking like, oh well, maybe just politicking involved, that like they don't want the police doing a full investigation at school because it could lead to prejudice and stuff like that. But like yeah, if another member of the drama club died, then like all bets are off.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about Riz, and like one of the things that I love that Paru Itagaki did was the design of Riz's eyes, because they're just like black dots. And so like you can draw those black dots and make them seem super cute, but also sometimes in some panels they look like just holes into the abyss, and it's creepy as fuck.
Yeah, for real. It's almost worse that he's cute sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like that like really drives home the like fright factor for me. Like, I don't know. Like I said, bears are kind of cute, and when you think about how dangerous they can be, it kind of makes that harder to grapple with. Like,
and in the really violent scenes, like when it's revealed that he just ate Tem, like the eyes change from dots to like actual pupils.
Yeah.
With a tiny, tiny dot. I'm so excited for Morgana to check out Volume 10, because we know like the big reveal happened about the killer of Tem, but you're going to learn about Legosi's family.
Oh, yes, I am excited about that.
Yeah, that stuff also started to come into play in this chapter. They didn't really reveal much, but they told you about Legoshi's mom and more relationship with his grandfather.
Yeah, I was very curious about that.
This volume is just full of like so many good things. Like they're able to tell this story about like Legoshi hanging out in the black market and then reuniting with Louis as well.
Yeah, I actually want to talk about that a little bit, because you're talking about how Parodagaki likes kind of like dramatic and kind of like some trashy stuff like soap operas, and there's some elements of that in Beastars. But at the same time, like there's this misunderstanding between like Louis and Legoshi, because he saw Legoshi like buying meat, so like he assumed, or he feared that like Legoshi was actually like doing that thing where that carnival zoo where they partake in meat in the black market on the side to like deal with their instincts or whatever. Right. So he felt super hypocritical, and I feel like this misunderstanding in a different manga could have gone on for volumes and volumes and volumes, but like it's just kind of like, I guess it went on for one volume, but it wasn't even a focus of the story. It just came up in this situation, and it's kind of cleared up, and he gets a lot better idea of what Legoshi's like current deal is.
Well, Louis, he's so dramatic. He's like, he acts all tough in front of his goons, eats some meat in front of Legoshi, and then they go out on the terrace, and he's like, you can punch me like before. But instead, Legoshi hugs him and is like, what are you talking about? I missed you.
These bros.
There's a funny thing, like they added like in between that chapter, two of like the waitresses working at like that restaurant were like, there was a fox. There's two young males hugging each other out on the terrace. They're like, oh, just give him some space, give him some privacy, let him hug it out.
That's right, I forgot about that. Oh man, Legoshi's such a wholesome creature.
I love how, like, even though with everything that's happening here with Riz being revealed as the killer, it then leads to, like, this issue at the school where they're going to separate the carnivores from the herbivores next year. And they're going to shut down all interspecies, like, club activities. We get another great moment with Bill.
Who actually, like, advocates for the integration.
Mm-hmm. I like how he's, like, cut down to size by Ellis, too. She starts like berating him in the middle of the hallway.
Yeah, I really like the scene when they pull out the arm of the anteater. Like the way how the carnivores instantly like shrink and be like shit, like like it's the weird dichotomy where like obviously like the anteater is a victim here, but also like the carnivores immediately need to like victimize themselves and be like, okay, we cannot like these herbivores are already freaked the fuck out, like we cannot scare them any longer or anymore. It's just like that uneasy like responsibility of like the big carnivores.
It's so well done. So I have to mention one thing about this volume is that my favorite the page numbers are always hidden, but it's in the last chapter where, like, after they've announced that the club should be separated, and the drama club is like, no, we're not going to separate. But Juno was actually like, we should separate. What's wrong with being separate so I can be, like, directly with, like, Legoshi? She's walking down the hall, and, like, she sees Legoshi talking with Haru. And there's this great panel where, like, she just saw them, and, like, it's this expression on Juno's face where she looks like she is both, jealous, annoyed, shocked. It's an ugly face. And it's sandwiched between, like, Legoshi and Haru, who look very happy talking to each other. And I just... Poor Juno. Poor Juno.
Yeah. I like her. But I think she needs to move on.
Another thing I really liked that I wanted to mention briefly was in the flashback with like Legoshi's mother's funeral. The way how Jack is like such a good boy. He's like the ultimate dog. He's like, oh, I need to be there for Legoshi. Things are going to be tough for me. Like he's instantly becoming just like an emotional like crutch for Legoshi.
Jack, emotional support best friend.
Jack is great. Well, there's so many good moments in this manga, and then I'm just thinking about how they're all going to be cut for that new season of Beastars anime starting next year.
Oh, yeah, this was a big volume. A lot happened.
Yeah, and that second season of the anime is gonna definitely cover this stuff. Just wonder what's gonna be left by the wayside.
Well, they gotta cover up to volume 12, which is when all this stuff is going to resolve itself. They gotta do that in 12 episodes, so just like the first season, they're going to cut so much. But yeah, there you go. Volume 9 of Beastars. Beastars is still great. I mean, if you've been reading along Beastars and you reach this point in Volume 9, like, how can you put this book down? Like, you gotta be in for it. We're gonna go ahead.
Yeah, shit's crazy. That's kind of it. No, I was not expecting the bit about Legoshi's past, his ancestry.
Yeah.
Yes, nobody expected that until it comes up, and then you're just like, what?
It's very strange. So Legoshi's grandfather is a Komodo dragon, which is impossible. I mean, obviously not in the world of Beastars, but it is absolutely impossible for a wolf and a Komodo dragon to mate, and even if they could, the offspring would probably be sterile. It's just not a thing.
Would it be an egg, or would it be a...
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, the mother is a mammal.
So probably it would be carried in the womb.
Most likely.
Yeah, maybe it depends on who the birthing parent is. There are so many questions I have.
Remember at the beginning of Beastars, Morgana, I think when we went on the Manga Mavericks podcast to talk about like interspecies, like relationships, and like, is it possible? And I was just like, wait for it. Well, you've waited 10 volumes, and now we are here.
Yep, we are here, and I am... and I was just concerned about, like, Legoshi and Haru getting it on, but, like, they're at least both mammals. Very different mammals, and it seems like it would probably not go so well. But, like, what is it even... I mean, I just feel like if you're... I'm very confused about a lot of things, and I feel like, I think we saw a picture of Legoshi's mom at some point, like, during her funeral, and she did not look like she was part lizard. And you would think if your father was a lizard, you'd have some lizard traits.
So, like, your incredulity to it, and like you just like trying to think it through, right?
I know.
That's something that like continues to happen in the series, right?
Right.
Like, characters are also like incredulous about it. So, like, it this isn't like a one-off random reference. It's kind of like an ongoing part of the series.
It's extremely bizarre. I don't dislike it. His grandfather seems like a cool guy. And if I could have a Komodo dragon for a grandfather, I'd think that was pretty rad. Legoshi does not seem so thrilled for some reason.
Yeah, all I can say, Morgana, is wait for it again.
Yeah,
because it will come up later, like the past about Legoshi's mother, his father, what happened between his grandfather and his grandmother. That will all come up in the future.
This whole volume was a lot of like, what the fuck? Legoshi ate a bug, a larva, and had an acid trip, basically.
Yep.
He had a weird hallucination where the bug is telling him to like take the power that he gleaned from eating another creature and, I don't know, go forth, whatever. And then his hair grew back after just eating one larva, which, like, that's bizarre also.
Well,
I feel like...
Morgana, remember, he's a quarter Komodo dragon.
Oh, that's
and reptiles can regrow body parts.
Sure, but this is his hair. And his hair would grow back, but like my interpretation was, oh, he finally got some protein and now his hair grew back. But it grew back like instantly. And also he only ate one bug. I don't know. It was very bizarre.
You know when some people have experiences and their hair turns all white? Kind of like
yeah.
That.
Yeah. Very strange. And that whole scene was very bizarre with the moth. And then we have Legoshi in a dress at the end.
Yeah.
Approaching Louis and asking him to come to watch him and Riz the bear kill each other.
Yep.
On New Year's Eve. Which, like, that I don't know. Goheen was like, maybe you should just turn him into the police. And I'm like, seriously, just, like, he's a murderer. Just, like, get it done. It was a bizarre. I mean, I enjoyed it, but...
The funny thing about that scene where Legoshi has borrowed Goheen's ex-wife's clothes is he's wearing that dress backwards. Because, like, the cleavage spot is, like, on his back, and you can tell. It's like, but he doesn't have no cleavage, so he wore it backwards.
I love the part where he asks Goheen if he reminds him of his wife. And Goheen is like, I'm gonna kill you!
It's good. It's very good.
It is funny. And I love Pina. I love him. I think he's great. He's the weird Bishonen. And he's just, I don't know, there's something about him.
Yeah, he acts like a fuckboy, but he actually has a very strong center.
Which,
during, like,
you know,
yeah.
Love that. I love that shit. So yeah, it was a really bizarre volume, like completely bizarre things happen. I mean, like, to be fair, it's a bizarre series, right? A little bit, like, conceptually, but a lot happened, and I was just kind of like, I don't know. It was very strange. But I do have a newfound, liking for oh no, I can't remember his name, the lion. I don't remember his name. The lion in the Shishigumi who has like the tattoos from the carnival drug. Ibuki. Yes. Ibuki, thank you. Yes. I like him. I like at the back of that like chapter they like did like a Paru Takaki did a like little profile on Ibuki and his likes are tobacco and books. And I was like, that sounds like, you sound like a cultured lion.
Yeah, a cultured criminal gangster.
Right? Who was sold at the age of 12. So I unexpectedly liked him. And it's really interesting to, I mean, Itagaki is doing this thing where she set up this world that has very strong moral codes, right? You don't eat other people. That's wrong. And then she throws you all of these characters who do immoral things, but she doesn't always make them bad, or doesn't make them bad enough for you to hate them. And this happened with the tiger, Bill?
Yep, Bill the tiger.
Yeah, and it's happening with, I feel like Ibuki is also a likable character, even though he's a criminal and obviously he eats meat. And it's just complicated, right? The world is way more complicated than, you know, the nice rules that they've laid out.
You might say this world is not Beast Stars, but Beast Complex. Yeah, this volume also has like Kibi the Anteater reconnecting with Towel, the Black Panther who tore his arm off.
Yes, that was intense.
Mm-hmm.
Kibi is a good person.
Yes.
Anteater person. He really, that would be hard for me to like be like, please touch my hand that you ripped off earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That was the same Anteater from the beginning of the series that Jack was talking to, right? Kibi?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So he has a lot of herbivore friends, or carnivore friends. You know, he knows what's up.
Yeah.
Well, and an anteater is an interesting complication, right? Because they don't eat meat, but they do eat bugs. They eat ants, which is a complicated. Obviously, we saw in this volume, like, it's okay to eat bug parts. It's kind of taboo to eat whole bugs.
I want to mention during that bug eating scene, there was like a whole black page that's just covered in like basically like ink blotches that's like representing Legoshi chewing on this live bug, and it's just like really gross and evocative.
Something when it pops, like there's like a splatter of like white ink right there where it says chomp.
Yeah, so it's like great stuff with the art, and even though I feel that like freaking Mothman showing up looks really weird and goofy, like hey, because he has like his arm around Legoshi, like hey kid, let me tell you about being a bug, and it's just kind of weird.
Yes.
I like that whole sequence a lot. It's really weird. It feels like just different. It's just this conversation between a lion and a bug. Even though it kind of veers into this weird territory where like the bug is like excusing him, like Legoshi's having this weird fantasy about a bug being like, yeah, you could eat me. It's totally cool. Like it seems
right.
It seems pretty convenient, right? But like just like how he's like very matter of factly says like all that stuff you're talking to me about, like that means nothing to us bugs. Like we're literally just existing and surviving, Yeah,
I mean that's true to an extent. Like bugs are pretty. There's not a whole lot going on. Not technically a bug, but I have kept tarantulas in the past, and they're real cool and real interesting. But they don't have anything going on. There's just they are just eating and drinking and living, spinning their webs. There's nothing else going on there. Whereas, like, I also have cats, and there's obviously a lot going on in a cat. Like, they have thoughts and desires and things that they act on. Maybe not the same as humans, but it's just a totally different mindset and whatever. But it's interesting because, like, that's true of, carnivores tend to be more mentally complex than herbivores because they have, protein, eating a lot of protein is what allows a brain to function at a higher capacity, from what I understand. That's why like gorillas need to eat all day, because they don't, or like certain primates have to eat like a lot because they have high brain function, but they don't always eat meat, so they have to like constantly be eating. So it's interesting that we've acknowledged that like bugs don't really have a whole lot going on emotionally or mentally, but I don't feel like we've broken that down with the carnivores and herbivores, most of which are mammals, some are birds. And then the difference between like birds and mammals in terms of like what their mental capacity is and things like that. But like there are certain, sometimes like especially the herbivores will say things like they react to certain things, like their bodies react to certain things. Well, like Peanut in this volume, like he thinks that Riz is going to eat him, and he falls over. His legs just give out, and it's like it's a reaction that he has. And Haru has said similar things, like it's just the reaction I have because I'm an herbivore. Like it's a lot of weird. We've personified these characters, but they are still like slaves to certain instincts, I guess.
I think we get to see that come out a little when we see Legoshi and Riz have that fight in the shower.
Mm.
You see, like, Riz has been represented by this bear that has like cute little black dots as eyes, but here his eyes turn vicious.
He's scary. He's like especially scary because he's sometimes not scary.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, like even in that one scene, it's like they kind of get interrupted and they just start washing themselves off for a minute, kind of like almost like they're not hostile to each other, and then they flip on again. It's just like
yeah.
Beastars is that thing where like sometimes it turns into shonen manga. It's it runs in a shonen magazine, but like we say a lot that like it feels seinen sometimes. Sometimes though it feels very shonen when he's like. When Legoshi's storming the lair of all the lions and beating them up to save Haru, it's like it's really like actiony and adventure. and this is another section where like he's fighting against a villain and a killer, where it feels kind of shonen-y, a little, I guess you could say, more pulpy or whatever. But like I like this one more than the storming the castle or storming the Shinsengumi. Like I kind of like this weird honor bound like show off he's having with Riz. You know, like he can turn him into like the police, and he probably should. He probably really should. But like he's compelled to like deal with it himself. And I just think it's also kind of cool how like there's like this panel where it shows them and they're like completely black silhouetted, except for like their wounds, and the wounds are like white.
Yeah.
And you can see like the wounds that Riz inflicted on Legoshi's face, and Legoshi like slashed, I think it was like his chest down to like his shoulders and back. And that's like like all that stuff is really well done. It's like, again, evocative, like animalistic. Like these aren't people; these are animals. And the wounds they get aren't like a black eye. How you know how it looks like with humans. They're big gashes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then after that, when Legoshi goes to Gohin and is telling him all about it, and Gohin is like, turn him into the police, whatever. He's like, no, I feel like I'm a carnivore too, and I have to do this, blah blah blah. And Gohin's like, you're such a teenager, like, and I feel like that's something that's perspective you don't get in a whole lot of other shonen stuff. You just have your protagonist who's determined to do things his way. Whereas here we have a much older character who's just like, oh my god, like, you're such a teenage boy. And it's kind of nice to have that, like, as somebody who's older reading this, being like, yeah, he really is, isn't he?
Well, this volume also includes one of my favorite chapters, chapter 86, A Comet in the Depths, which is a one-off chapter just about Gohin and his patient, who is a Tibetan fox. It's a really kind of sweet story about Gohin treating this patient who has, like, committed, I forget what the term they use for, like, killing in this Beastars is, but it's really good.
Yeah, I like that one. Do we see more of Gohin's interactions with his patients, or is it pretty minimal going forward?
This is like the one-off we get, so it's sad. I'm sad.
That's too bad, yeah. Because I've said this before, I like him. I'm really curious about him. So I wouldn't mind more Gohin, even outside of, I mean, I like Legoshi, but like outside of his story, I'm curious about like his work.
I'm calling it right now. I'm calling my shot like I do sometimes, and I'm right. The last chapter of Beast Complex is going to be Gohin on his deathbed, and all the beasts that he's helped along the way show up and thank him.
Oh, shed a tear.
Including Legoshi, that's where he shows up.
Yeah.
And he has his little, like, half rabbit, half wolf child with him.
Really, really curious about what that looks like. But I'm also still really curious. I still really don't understand the Komodo dragon thing.
Yep, you just gotta wait for it, Morgana.
Yeah.
Those main things about Legoshi and his past and his heritage, like, those are all things that get fully explored, so that's nice. Some of these other things that Gohin, like, they get kind of pushed to the side, which kind of sucks.
Well, it's, we've said this before, but Paru Itagaki has created a whole world here. And I think it'd be impossible to explore all of it in one story. I mean, that's why I guess Beast Complex exists, and maybe there are other, maybe in the future there will be more, because I feel like this is, something she thinks about a lot and puts a lot of effort into making complex and really fully fleshed out. So you have characters like Gohin who, you get the sense that there's more to him than just being Legoshi's mentor. He's got a life and things that he does on his own too, and you can see that, which I think is good storytelling, even if we don't get more Gohin. Like, we know that he's more than that.
Well, Paru Itagaki not only made this really complex world, like you said, Morgana, but she has made, like, all these characters are really good. Like, even, like, the side characters are really, really good. Yeah, Beast Complex, which she's doing right now, is great. I got my Albino Crow chapter this week, so I'm super hype about that. It's so good. It's so good. It's almost like, because she completed Beastars, Beast Complex shines even more now. all these like singular stories, chapter stories, to see what she can tell in a 19-page chapter about like animals living in this world. It's really impressive. I love it. Anything else to say about Beastars chapter volume 10?
I liked it. It was
Yeah.
a wild ride. It was wild. But I think I enjoyed it partially because I haven't read any in a while, so it was kind of nice to come back to and be like, oh yeah, this story, it's great.
Oh, that's right,
weird.
because up to volume 9 you were still had your press pass, so you're
Yeah,
reading them early, yeah.
I was reading them early, so I didn't read it early this time. I read it at the same time as all you plebes out there who have to wait for the English version to come out. So it was kind of nice to be like, oh yeah, like this exists and it's fun and bizarre, and Legoshi's still great.
Well, get ready, because volume 11 is going to basically be the end of this arc.
Oh man.
There's a little epilogue into volume 12, but yeah, we're basically going to see the conclusion next volume of everything between Legoshi and Riz here, so it's gonna be dramatic.
I'm shocked.
I'm legit interested to see in 2 months what Morgana says about the end of this arc, so we'll see. Morgana.
Yeah.
You wrote to us in like our admin chat. I read volume 11. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I would recommend, even if you don't really mind spoilers, maybe skip this, because some really big shit happens.
This is the end of the entire Tem murder stuff that happened at the very beginning of Beastars. Through these new volumes, we have learned the identity of the killer, Riz the Bear from the Drama Club. In volume 10, Riz and Legoshi clashed, and they decide they're going to duel it out on New Year's Eve. And yeah. Last volume, Legoshi ate a bug. He had a fucking mind quest, vision quest. Yeah, my God, that was something that happened.
Yeah, it was.
We learned that his grandfather is Komodo Dragon, and he is quarter Komodo Dragon. He also put on a dress and went to go see Louis to tell him, hey, can you please come watch my duel with Riz? And Louis is like, whatever. But yeah, we got to see the events here in Volume 11 of Beastars, how it all plays out. It's pretty much just an extended sequence of New Year's Eve. And, we get things like Legoshi is on his way to the duel, and he gets a phone call from Haru. He's like, I love you, Haru. Also, yeah, Louis was originally not going to go. He and the Shishigumi clan were going to get into, like, a battle with, like, just so happens to be a clan of criminal wolves. Everybody looks like Legoshi to him. But, appreciating his second-in-command, Ibuki the Lion, Louis is like, I love carnivores, and I have to go see Louis. So he tells Ibuki, I'm gonna leave the clan, and I gotta go do something. And it's really, really fucking sad what happens between Louis and Ibuki.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Remember last volume, Morgana, you were like, I like Ibuki. I like this guy, this like gentleman lion, and yeah, it's tragic that Ibuki, as a member of the Lion Clan, he really loved Louis, and being with Louis changed his life, changed his perspective. He learned how strong carnivores can be when they're protecting like an herbivore friend, and as such, he cannot let Louis leave, even though he understands Louis must leave. So he basically sets himself up to be killed by Free, because the other lion Free, he gave him like an extra bullet. He's like, use this to shoot me if I ever attack the boss. So yeah, Ibuki dies. Louis is free to go. Oh, that was something in this volume that kind of I didn't like for translation, because Free the Lion takes Louis over to the exit of the black market, and he tells him, never come back here again, because if I see you again, I will kill you and devour you. And Louis responds, he says, all right, I promise I'll never come back. And I kind of don't like this, because in the Japanese, Free says the same thing, if I see you again, I'll kill you and devour you. But in Japanese, Louis just says, all right, I promise. And I always took that promise as, it's not that he promises never to come back.
he promises that, yes, Free, if you see me again, you should kill me.
Yeah, it's an interesting nuance. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish that was mentioned. Like, it was more like, all right, I promise to hold you to that. Like, something like that, as opposed to just, I promise never to come back. It's just a slight touch. Anyway, yeah, so Lugosi has his battle with Riz, who, by the way, Riz kidnapped Pina, and almost sets it up like he has blood on his stomach, like, and it's Pina's blood. But like, he's like, I ate him. I'm so full, just to get you angry, Lugosi. But he didn't actually kill him. And then, Lugosi unleashes the power of moths, which is
Yes. Ridiculous.
Did you like that 2-page spread where he just transforms into like a mess of moths through his clothes?
So ridiculous.
Yeah, but it is not enough to take out Riz, who, by the way, Riz is like, it's terrifying. Like, we get that opening chapter about him like not having any taste buds anymore.
Yeah.
But he like, in his mind, eating Tem was like Tem allowed himself to be devoured by him. Like, that's how he's like kind of like told himself this. And Lugosi is questioning and like more or less bringing the truth out, how like all it was like a act of murder. And Riz says, no, you can't tarnish my precious memory of my best friend Tem.
Yeah, I mean, Riz talks like a serial killer.
Oh yeah, sociopath.
Like,
100%.
It's really terrifying.
But it's interesting how, like, even though they're fighting to the death here, and like Riz is like, his goal is to devour Lugosi, they stop and they have a chat about, like, Riz's feelings.
Hashtag just carnivore problems.
Yeah. It's such a thing of Beastars to be like, we're having a battle to the death, but it's not going to be about a power creep. Let's talk about feelings.
Yeah,
and our society and like what it means to be a carnivore. Well, at the end of this, Lugosi is really fucked up, but then Louis shows up and they kind of like escape for a little bit so like they can talk. And Lugosi is like, Louis, watch me go die because I'm going to go like face Riz down. And then Louis is like, he thinks of what just happened with Ibuki and, he can't stop crying. And so he's like, Louis says, hey, Lugosi, eat my leg and regain your strength. So fucking Lugosi eats Louis' leg.
Yup.
And
that was wild.
And uses that power to show, to not only like beat Riz in combat, but also to show, they came to a true understanding between herbivores and carnivores, This is what Riz thought he had, the friendship he thought he had with Tem, but then he sees it in front of him, the true friendship between Lugosi and Louis, to have this connection. And yeah, it ends with Riz basically admitting his defeat, and then the police show up, so... Yeah, they arrest Riz. Louis tells them, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were suffering and when going through this. The police are like, hey, you wolf, let go of that deer that you ate his leg. But then they see them like, doing their shtick and just being friends, so it's okay. There's a really, really kind of beautiful scene at the end where it's like one page, it's Lugosi smiling and then Louis smiling back, saying like,
yes,
his fangs have freed me from his curse.
Yes.
And yeah, so... Louis is going to go to the hospital. Lugosi is being taken in by the police. We're going to get an epilogue of everything. But yeah. What did you think, Morgana?
I think my holy shit sums it up. There's a lot. There's a lot that happened. Sad about Ibuki.
Oh, yes.
Totally did not expect that to happen with Louis, to have him be like, eat my leg. And for Lugosi to be like, okay.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
I remember when as it was being serialized in Weekly Shonen Champion, and I was reading that, when they got to that, it's like, oh, Lugosi chose to eat that leg to gain the strength. I really hated that at the beginning. I was like, oh no, why, Lugosi? Your convictions. But, rereading it now, it makes sense. Pari Takagi loves her drama, her trashy like soap operas, so... It makes sense. It's the most dramatic choice. It also is the choice that helps actually free Louis from like all his problems. The leg that he offers up is the one with the
the tattoo, the number 4 tattoo from when he was
Yes.
on the black market. So it does have
Yeah.
significant meaning for him as well.
There's this really interesting theme, and this is something I was thinking about with Beast Complex as well, which we'll get to. But like this idea of eating someone you care about as being some kind of expression of your relationship. It's very strange. I don't dislike it, but it's a weird concept, right? Like it's a very strange. I mean, people don't eat each other typically, so it's weird to think about it as like a positive thing, right? Like this thing that happened between Louis and Legoshi is positive, but it's also just really bizarre. Like if somebody told me like, please eat my leg.
This
I
is a
would-
story that can only be told through animals.
Right, exactly. It's just and you know, the nature of the relationship is understanding that one of them is made to eat the other one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially wolves and deer. That's a very, wolves do eat deer in the wild. It's not like it's not like Louis is a convenient source of meat. It is the meat that Legoshi would eat if he was a wild wolf.
Oh, Pari Itagaki, you got us. You got us good.
Seriously, I was not expecting this volume at all. Everything that happened in it.
So when I read this, similar to Dagzu, I kind of had like not like a negative reaction, but like a mixed reaction. Like I don't know what to think about this. It's very like grotesque, right? And it seems like it's like they spent so much time building Legoshi up as like a hero who doesn't need like meat to like fight as a carnivore and stuff like that, and they just kind of like they just kind of went back on it. But like rereading it, I also think it's like a lot better than originally felt. I like the part where like Legoshi basically tells him, it's like, okay, but if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it because I actually want to eat your leg. I'm not gonna like make like these weak platitudes like, oh well, he's letting me do it, or it's it's for justice. Like no, like the moment you offer the leg, like my whole body was like meat. Like
Right.
I actually like deeply want to eat your leg, and that's why I'm gonna do it. Like he doesn't want to sugarcoat it, right? He doesn't want to like create like this weird like I don't know, like it's just, I imagine some weird shonen battle manga where like they're just eating body parts to power up or something, just like really weird stuff like that. Like they clearly he clearly doesn't want that, right? This is a very unique and weird situation, all about people's kind of like all about these characters like morals and their like standings and what they feel about, because from the very beginning, like Legoshi could have gone to the cops, right? From the very beginning, he's like, I don't want to go to the cops, I want to handle this myself, like, because like this guy eating Tem and talking about how Tem wanted it and how Tem is like a good friend of his is like the most horrible thing he could like imagine, right? After like befriending so many like herbivores and falling in love with Haru, this guy is just like the complete opposite of what Legoshi is, right?
Yeah.
So like the whole thing about like Legoshi didn't, as far as their actions go, Legoshi didn't do much different than Riz, because he ate an herbivore. He didn't kill him, but like he devoured meat. But it was actually a consenting situation, unlike it was with Tem, and it was this weird warped camaraderie.
It's also something I kept thinking about through all this is it's eating someone is extraordinarily intimate. Like and this idea of we've talked about this before, like in the early volumes when Legoshi is confronting his desire for Haru, and it's a twin desire. It's both lust and the desire to eat, right? Like to eat meat. And this allegory of eating meat is sexual desire. And I'm not going to go so far as to say that, like, I ship it, Legoshi and Louis here. But there is something very intimate about it. And it's a very close friendship, right? It's not just buddies. Like, they really, really are. I mean, can you imagine, like, caring about somebody so much that you'd be like, here, please, take part of my body?
I mean, that said, when when Lugosi shows up and his face is covered in blood because he just ate Louis' leg, he says, "Louis is alive. He's still here, and he's also inside me."
Yes, yeah. No, there was definitely the Fujoshi part of my brain was like, okay. Yeah, it's really interesting. And these relationships, these friendships, the one between Riz and Tem as well as Legoshi and Louis, these are really high intensity friendships. These are not best friends, but like really complex, and it's especially weird to think of like Legoshi and Louis as best friends because they didn't really interact a whole lot for a whole lot of the series, right? There was, they have a relationship. It's kind of based around Haru. It's kind of based around the fact that, they're opposite ends of the food chain who are both trying to be the other one, right? Like,
yeah, clearly they're influenced by each other. They talk about they talk about and think about each other a lot, but do not directly talk to each other.
It's very interesting.
They're always like polarized as well. Like they're always like when one's in the light, the other's in the dark. When one is kind of like vulnerable, the other one is like strong.
Yeah,
They're like switching places. I really like the line at the end where he's like, at the end, I just sounded like a little kid when I went, "See you at school tomorrow," and Legoshi just like nods at him like an adult, where like he just found himself just like very like vulnerable. Not because of like the egg. I don't know why I said egg. Not because of the leg eating, but because like this uncertainty for like Legoshi.
Yeah.
Also like how it's like stop licking the blood off your mouth. It makes you look worse when the cops were there.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
I always appreciate Haru Itagaki's ability to inject humor into some of these situations that are like absolutely terrifying. Because I'm sitting there like, oh no, the police are here, that's going to complicate things. And it kind of doesn't. The cop is like, don't worry, this seems like it's a complicated situation, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say Lugosi will still be dealing with the events of this night for the rest of the series. Yeah,
I'm sure, but it was a lot less complicated than I thought it was going to be in that moment.
I do want to bring up, I remember reading this when I reread Beastars a while back. So I've been looking through my volume 1 of Beastars, and it doesn't say the page number, but towards the end of the book, so in the first volume of Beastars, Legoshi acts as a lookout when Louis and I think it was the goat, they practice the lines after school or after hours, because nobody's allowed in the auditorium after hours. And that's when he has the encounter with Haru, where he senses an herbivore and he leaps on the herbivore and he like digs into Haru's arm. Now that whole like sequence that kind of starts Beastars' main thing. Before that happens, when Louis is like convincing Legoshi to like break the rules with him, he says, "Don't let me down. I bet if I offer you one of my legs, you drew and say yes, though." So I just want to put it out there that Haru Itagaki is either really, really good at setting things up or really, really good at going back and looking at things she can recall and like create like some sort of like callback to.
That's a technique manga artists use a lot. Like they go back and scour through their original material and be like, what reference can I like connect with something that's happening now? Make it seem like it's premonition.
That's really cool, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, I was laughing while you were talking about that scene where like he pounces on Haru, because I'm just thinking about the anime where he Super Saiyans up.
Yeah.
Of the smell.
Yeah, he almost does the same thing in this manga when he eats his leg, but like nothing like that, right? The way Haru Itagaki draws him, he like his fur is kind of like on end, so it almost looks like he's on fire.
He also is like 6-pack abs when he gets back.
Yeah.
I noticed that's like, whoa,
that doesn't happen when I eat meat,
right? Man, gotta get some of that good venison, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, like clearly like looking like a power up, but looking like, I don't know. It's a lot of great art. I really like it.
What fantastic timing to put this out this week ahead of the end of season 2 of Beastars, which is going to happen next week. Where they'll finally, in Japan, where they're going to be, basically getting to where this volume ends. Very smart.
Have you been watching that?
I have. It's it's disappointing. Like they had to take out a bunch of stuff.
So would you say it's just kind of like on par with how the first season was?
Yeah, like I remember in the first season they took out the scene where like Louis pulls a gun on Bill, which I thought was like, oh, why? But maybe they don't anticipate ever doing any more Beastars anime because they took out the scene where Legoshi reveals that his grandfather is,
What?
yeah, the Komodo dragon. So
That seems important. I don't know.
but if you're not, if like that's an important thing for the future, right? And that's going to be coming up
Yeah.
later. If you're not going to be doing any more Beastars, you don't want to confuse like the people who are watching to be like, what the fuck was up with the Komodo dragon part?
I say confuse them. I say let them have it. It's like that's a great trip when you read that in the manga.
It is another reason why I prefer the manga over the anime. So, but
Okay, that will eventually be coming out on American Netflixes. We'll see. We'll see when.
I will say about the anime, both the opening and ending song done by the musical unit Yoasobi are awesome. And they collaborated with Pari Itagaki, who wrote some like words. The opening is about Legoshi thinking of Haru, and it's called Bake. What is it? It's called Kimono. No, Kaibutsu. Kaibutsu, which means monster. So like Legoshi thinking about himself as a monster protecting Haru. But the ending song is Ibuki talking about Louis, and it's fucking tragic, man. It's so good too. The song is dope, the animation is dope there. There's lyric lines about like my world began to change a little by little. The days where I acted strong, hiding my weakness, but then the gaze that suddenly appeared to me one day told me what I didn't know. If there's something to protect, that alone can make me strong.
I'm so sad about Ibuki. I'm so sad.
What a great character.
Seriously.
What a way to go out. I love that. And when Ibuki is trying to intimidate Louis by like revealing his like true size, it's just a panel of Louis looking at him dead straight and then smiling at him saying like, well, Ibuki, so that's how big you actually are.
Mm-hmm.
He's not angry at him like he usually is, he's just nothing but affection for like his second in command.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, at the beginning of this series, I didn't care much for Louis. And I think, Dakazu, you said, like, wait, like, he's got a lot goes on with Louis. And, yeah, a lot does go on. And I think he's a really great character and, really complicated. But he's become way less pompous, and I think that's an important part. I think if his personality had remained the way it was, I don't know if I would have liked him that much.
He was a big fish in a small pond at school, being told he would be the next eventual Beastars. His backstory about being bought at the black market into this like prestigious rich family, the Bones Corporation. Like there's a lot to Louis. And like Darfox was saying, the juxtaposition between Louis and Legoshi, like up to this point, man, what fantastic Beastars, so good.
Yeah, man, you mentioned like becoming the Beastar, and that was like so far from my like memory of what this series is actually. I'm sitting here like we're fighting about justice and murder, and I'm like, oh yeah, and there's like some school award, isn't there? The context is yeah, and I'm gonna say this doesn't I don't know that this is fair entirely, but I'm gonna say there is something and I wonder if it's because Haru Itagaki is a woman. There is something very shoujo manga about this in that it's just really complex with its like emotions, and which is not. I don't want to disparage shonen manga here, but these relationships and these dramas and this kind of romance, like there's something very like classic shoujo about all of this that's really interesting to me, because I mean it's an action comic. There's a lot of people getting beat up, people being bloody. I wouldn't call this a shoujo manga at all, aside from the fact that it's, obviously does not run in a shoujo magazine. But yeah, I don't know if it's just like, again, like a woman's touch, or what, but it's just, I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about the drama of it all.
Oh, I can see that totally.
For whatever it's worth, and this might just be because like I do know Paragaki is a woman, and I think I've always known pretty much since we started talking about Beastars. But this definitely feels like a manga written by a woman. It definitely feels like there's a different touch to it, a different like a more perceptive eye to like the very important bits about the relationships and stuff.
Yeah, I usually try not to. It's hard. Sometimes I try not to like say like, oh, again, like I said, this was written by a woman. Can't you tell? But it occurs to me that so many of the things I've read by women do certain things differently, and I gotta imagine it's just like a matter of perspective. And and what women are typically reading, right? That influences their work. And how they are engaging with it. But yeah, I definitely feel that way. When I found out that a woman wrote Gangsta, I was like, oh yeah, I could tell. Like I could tell, and I don't know why. Like there was just something about like I can feel that. Like, and the same thing with Dorohedoro. And I've only read one volume of Dorohedoro, but I was like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense to me. It's a really weird quality that I can't quite put my finger on what it is. Definitely relationships are part of it, and the characterization of the characters. But yeah, I always get really excited when I'm like, oh yeah, this was definitely written by not a guy, not a dude writing shonen manga. And there's nothing wrong with dudes or shonen manga. I like both of them for the most part.
Yeah, but Beastars is a manga that wouldn't exist if it wasn't in Weekly Shonen Champion. And the editors over there were like, yeah, this is great. Just do it. I can't, like, this manga would not succeed in, like, with a Weekly Shonen Jump's readership.
Yeah, no, I think it's too, cerebral is not the word, but there's a lot of feelings and a lot of thought. Which is, no offense, but that's not what One Piece is about, right? Like, there's no thought. There's some feelings. There's definitely feelings in shonen manga, but different kinds of feelings.
Shonen manga has like a lot of like very simple things that they make very clear so that the audience could glob onto, like want to be the Hokage, like being a hero in My Hero Academia. There's very clear goals and very clear like objectives from the protagonist. Legoshi isn't going around being like, just you wait, I'm gonna beat the Beastars.
Yeah,
like that isn't happening. He's living his life, and life is dealing him a lot of fucked up shit he's having to deal with. Like there is an uncertainty and cruelty of life in Beastars that isn't in a lot of like regular shonen like manga.
Yeah, no, I think you definitely hit the nail on the head there.
Also, we've talked about this before, but the beginning of this manga is not as stellar as where it gets to, right? It starts pretty slow.
I still really like it.
Yeah, I like it too, but remember one of our listeners,
Wyatt, I believe.
Yes, Wyatt was saying they read the first 3 volumes. They're like, I don't know, man. I mean, plenty of people could drop it by then. Weekly Shonen Jump would have canceled it by then. We would have never gotten into like Legomu Beast, Legomu's chapter, God tier story about like Chicken Girl. So this is a series that definitely got better as it went along, but it was allowed to get better,
Right. Yeah.
Anything else to say about Beastars Volume 11?
Shit fucked me up. No, but I was definitely like, oh my god. This is an oh my. I think a few of them are oh my god volumes, but this one, I think I keep thinking that the craziest shit has already happened, and then more crazy shit happens, and I don't always know how that happens.
I'm so excited about where the trajectory of where Beastars goes after this. And so, yeah, right now, this is volume 11, right? By the time we get to volume 13, which I believe Paru Itagaki has said herself when she ended the series, like, 13 is one of my favorites. She also says volume 3 is, like, one of her favorites. That, of course, is the one with Legomu.
I'm sure that's why.
And the reveal of the black market.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, yeah. Volume 13. We're gonna be learning some more things about this society, and it's gonna be great. Morgana, talk to me about Volume 12. What did you see? You saw where we're going. We are no longer in school.
Yeah. So let's see. Legoshi was talking with the police officer. He's been all patched up. He's being told that he is a registered meat offender.
Yep.
And that means that he cannot go to school with herbivores.
Yep.
His employment is limited.
Yep.
All these things. He cannot marry an herbivore, which is the big deal to him.
Rip Haru.
Right. That is all cool. I personally, he also. Well. Okay. Let me not get too ahead of myself. Louis is offered the position of Beastar because he has found Tem's murderer, except that he didn't, and he does not accept the title of Beastar.
Yeah, like the school and the police have kind of like they buried what really happened because they can't be going around announcing a story about an herbivore willingly let his carnivore friend consume him, a part of him, to take down a murderer. Like, what does that say in our society? You know, herbivores going to start offering themselves up to carnivores. So the story was set up that Louis was the one who stopped Rizu, but in the process lost his leg.
And then we get to see who there's a current Beastar. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, okay, so the current Beastar, the Valiant Beastar, is like he's basically Batman.
Yeah, except he's a horse.
Yeah, he's a horse. And the weird thing is his name in English here is spelled Yahya.
Oh, yes.
Yahya.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But in Japanese, the pronunciation is Yafuya.
Oh, interesting.
So I was like, why did they spell it like that? It's supposed to be Yafuya. Maybe it's supposed to be Yafuya, like Hya, Hya. Maybe
it's a weird name.
Yahya, Yafuya. I'm just going to go with Yafuya because that's how it is in Japanese. But yeah, the Valiant Beastar. And his position in this world is he's basically almost like a superhero who protects society. We even get a little chapter of him, like, going camouflage or, like, sneaking into, like, the My Milk.
Oh, yeah, I liked that. He's really over the top. He's funny. Yes. You know, he's, like, all about his job as, you know, the Valiant Beastar. And he can't have, you know, real relationships because he's got to always be on, you know, on guard and on his best.
But there's a reason behind that, Morgana. He used to be partners with Legoshi's grandfather, Gohin.
Yes.
Yes, Gohin. Finally, we get some good Gohin here.
Wait, Gohan? Was that a thing?
Gohan is the...
Oh, that's Panda. Gosha, sorry.
Gosha, yes.
Yeah. Sorry, Darbox.
I was like, plot twist!
I love Gosha.
Gosha's great.
He's the best. I love him so much. He's like this pleasant old Komodo dragon man. Oh, I just love him.
He's very cute, the way he interacts with Legoshi when, like, he meets them in, like, the alleyway.
Yeah, I love their relationship, too. Like, we get to see his, like, Legoshi's childhood a little bit, like, growing up with his grandfather. And
kid Legoshi's so cute.
So cute.
But also, this volume ends with, like, Gosha
throwing down.
Yeah. I love that line too, you know. Pacifism only works when it comes from a place of strength, as he's strangling like a bird.
Yes.
So good.
The other thing I liked about this volume is that, you know, in order to get the story further along, we actually had to glimpse other characters, like extra characters. Like there's that that sheep 7.
Yes, I love that. I love that chapter.
And you know what was really interesting about her? So her whole thing is she's obviously dealing with discrimination at work. She works with mostly predators carnivores, and they call her Lamb Chop, and they kind of are like, oh well, you know, this kind of job isn't right for you as a, you know, herbivore because, you know, whatever.
Oh
and
God, the treatment at the dinner.
Yes, yeah, where they're like touching her like she's an emotional support herbivore or something. This kind of harassment is like parallels workplace like sexual harassment, or like, you know, how a lot of women are, and she is a woman, but how they're treated in a lot of workplace situations. So I thought it was a really interesting way of flipping that script a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I, in general, love the fact that we have left the school setting and now we are in society. And I feel like, Paru Itagaki has way more ideas and like interesting like storylines and thoughts about like what the society of like Beastars is. So, like, it feels like she's in full stride here, and, like, connecting it so well. That story of Seven, and how it turns out, like, she, like, brushes up against, like, Lugosi in that interspecies train, and she's like, if you pat your cheeks 3 times in front of a carnivore, it means, like, please devour me. So she starts doing it because she wants to die, basically. She's not happy with her life. But, of course, Lugosi, good boy that he is, just, like, whaps her. Like, get out of here. Oh, what did you think about Lugosi's like withdrawal symptoms?
I was kind of surprised because that's like really fast. He's only eaten the meat once. I guess it was probably a lot of meat, and I'm sure his body felt great. Like, this is what you're supposed to be eating because you're a carnivore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I wasn't really thinking. I thought he would do that, a lot of mind over matter sort of stuff, and just get over it.
Talk to some more moths and shit.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, he's basically already eaten meat, right? Like, he's eaten a moth. That's, like, totally the same.
Yeah, they treat it almost like drug withdrawal.
Yeah.
Like, almost like a narcotic that he went through.
And I love how he asks Seven, like, how do I get electricity turned on in my apartment?
he's a dumb
Because he's a
boy.
kid. Yeah.
He's a kid who doesn't know anything. Volume 12 is great. Oh, also, we have to talk about, with Louis. First of all, we have him in the hospital talking that chapter with his father, which I love, because they do that 2-shot of like Ibuki and his father Oguma. They both have the same eyes. It's like so good. Ah, poor Ibuki. But also, we got some Louis and Juno happening.
Yes.
Because
I'm for it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Of course. If you go back and think about like how they interacted throughout the, like up to this point, of course Juno is in love with Louis.
It makes sense, but it's like what we have to settle because we're not getting like Legoshi Lewis.
I'm sorry, your dreams are crushed, Star Fox.
Their bromance is very real. Keep believing.
One thing I really liked in this volume, it puts up like, because Beastars does a lot of like weird interactions between these characters that are only possible because they're like animals, and specific like combination of animals interacting in society, and just the way like Legoshi's grandpa puts his hand in his mouth to get like his toxic saliva, and then puts it in Legoshi's mouth to like reaffirm that like, yeah, this is my flesh and blood, that like he's not getting sick and killed by my toxic saliva. Such a weird thing, such a weird interaction, but like it's totally the kind of thing you would see in like, Discovery Channel or something, right? Or like how
right
animals do weird things like regurgitate food for the babies and stuff like that. And we as humans are like, ew, that's gross. Well, it's like they're animals. It's just a really great example of like this kind of weird, kind of almost taboo thing of like swapping saliva, but like it was almost like a very sweet reason why he was doing it. So good Beastars moment there.
Also, they mentioned the term Beastars finally,
right?
Because that was like the original goal of Yafuya and Gosha. They were competing to be the next Beastar by busting up criminals when they were like in their teens, but they didn't want to be rivals.
But then Gosha went and got a wolf pregnant.
He went and knocked up that wolf.
Which should not really be possible. What did he say? It was like a 1 in something ridiculous chance.
1 in 500.
Yeah. Yafuya was like, what? Whose kid is it? It's like, are you listening? It's mine.
Yep. It's gonna lead to some stuff between Yafuya and Legoshi, but
I figured, yeah.
Oh, also, in this volume, because Legoshi leaves school and he starts working at a udon shop, I thought it was a fun choice that it's always udon because when Paru Itagaki was working in college, that was her like part-time job, an udon shop.
Oh yeah.
Of course, like might as well use like the place that you've worked before so that you know. I thought that was an interesting interaction there too, where like you see these like herbivores and carnivores working together in a shop, and as soon as all the herbivores leave, the carnivores are like, "Let's take out Lugosi to the like black market."
Right?
And Lugosi himself is like, "What? Well, we were being so friendly with the herbivores. How can you say that?"
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like, basically very obvious way of being like, we're not in high school anymore.
Yeah,
This is the real world. Grow up.
yeah, and also like the it's like the untold rule of society is like the carnivores are all eating meat at the black market. That's just kind of how it is in this society. But also, those carnivores care. They can tell Lugosi is going through withdrawal symptoms. Why can't I say symptoms? Jeez. Oh, Morgana, did you realize when at the end of this volume, when Lugosi goes out to dinner with his grandfather Gosha, they get harassed by some like birds. And then Lugosi is like, "I'll fight if you want to fight." And Gosha is like, "No, my grandson, my beautiful memories of my beautiful grandson.
Right,
Where have you gone?" But Crocodile steps in to stop the fight.
Yes, is that the one from Beast Complex?
It's Benny from Beast Complex,
Yeah,
baby.
I thought it might be him.
Yep. The giveaway is like he has a name tag that says Benny, and like that is the name of the same crocodile from that Beast Complex chapter. Nice little throwback to Beast Complex. It's fun.
I was real upset about the harassment. I was like, why you gotta be so mean? But maybe I just really like Komodo dragons. I like lizards. Though they do scare me because their saliva is so poisonous, so venomous.
Have you seen that viral video of a Komodo dragon inside a convenience store just like
No.
tearing shop? It's huge. It's like the size of
They're
3
big.
store. Like they're so tall and big.
Climbing up the shelves and shit.
Yeah. I'm so excited we're in where we are in Beastars. This new like, let's look at the society now. Let's get out of the school.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, I've been enjoying Beastars this whole time, but this particular volume I liked, I think more than former ones. Yeah, maybe it's that we've moved out of school and we're getting a little bit more backstory to the Goshi's family and the world at large.
I cannot wait for volume 13 because then we're gonna get into even more great stuff in this society. It's gonna be so good. I can't wait to hear Morgana's reaction. Darfox and Morgana, you guys read it, right?
Oh yes.
Yes. So on the cover, you already have Gosha, which is amazing. What an
My
amazing
favorite.
cover. Is
I
Gosha
love
your
Gosha.
favorite now?
I love him. This was so. I actually just read Beastars this week. I read it last night. I will tell you right now, before we even do this triple dip, this was my favorite thing I read this week. Which probably shouldn't come as a huge surprise. We like Beastars here, but yeah, I love Gosha.
Volume 13 is, I think Paru Itagaki says it's one of her favorite volumes with stories inside, because not only do you get a bunch of stuff on Gosha, Volume 13 introduces the seal.
Yes, Sagwan, is that his name?
Yes.
And like the concept of marine animals in this world,
Which has not come up to this point. But of course, why would there not also be marine life? And how they're so different than like the herbivores and carnivores on land. It's kind of like game changing in the world of Beastars. Because basically, Lugosi is working at a udon noodle shop and he's delivering noodles now. And he has to deliver to like marine life. And a seal he meets, who actually lives in the apartment that he stays in, the Beast Apartments, named Segwan, helps translate for him and then explains how the philosophy of marine life is like reincarnation. They don't worry about being eaten or dying because they believe like as soon as they die, they'll be reborn. So it really rocks Lugosi's world. It's amazing. Dar, is this something like you never got to when we were first reading Beastars?
Yeah, or about halfway through this volume.
Okay.
It's like new stuff, which is gratifying.
Yeah, do you have a comment on the marine life?
I like when he gets naked. And Lugosi's like, what? Also, what's up with the fashion stuff at the end in the back matter of the book.
Oh yeah.
I just thumbed through this right now. What even is this fashion? Is this like
This cool-
Lolita?
She says
It's cool
steampunk
goth.
gothic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very like visual K, like I don't know, mid 2000s, like cool. I don't know if people dress like that anymore.
Peanut does apparently.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he looks good.
Yeah, this section of the Beastar story, one, I'm glad that like it kind of is going into like this greater world, right? It's not staying in the high school, but it kind of ruins like my quick sales pitch of Beastars, which I always say it's basically just like a really good high school drama. You know, the characters have to be animals. Now it's just like a drama, but with like 3 big action scenes. Like, you know, it's like there have been like these big battles, but not like a battle manga.
Beastars is extremely hard to describe. It's getting harder and harder all the time.
Yeah, it doesn't like to. I mean, there's tons of little aspects of it that are like clearly like derivative of other stuff and like, you know, kind of tropey, and maybe you could start seeing like some of like Paolo Degaki's like sensibilities in that. But overall, it's just really its own thing that doesn't fit into like a lot of modes.
Did you enjoy like the other residents of the Beast apartments? They're all strange.
They're extremely weird, except for Seven.
Yep. And like I think when we were talking about Beast Complex, and also because Pari Tagaki went back to Beast Complex, these are all like the subjects of all the stories of the new Beast Complex chapters. All these.
Yeah,
people.
I recognize the taxidermists.
Yeah, the
Yes.
Yeah,
they're all
still
really
crazy
good.
idea.
Yeah. I love like the what is it, the gerbil and the eagle? Their
Yeah.
relationship. It's like one straight up like, are you guys dating? It's like, nope. She pays for his food, and in return he flies her around town because, you know, it's dangerous for little creatures to like try and take public transportation.
I love how we've decided that like small creatures stay small, even though some of the characters like Komodo dragons are big, right? But like they're not like 6 foot tall human sized like Gosha is. But we've decided that he can be tall and big.
Yeah,
But like, you know, he's a lizard. He walks on his leg, like on his like all fours, but not in this world. But gerbils still have to be small.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, like, it makes sense, but I'm not sure why it makes sense since, like, already we're talking about something that's inherently bizarre, which is, like, humanoid animals.
well, it's just like 2 sizes. There's like kind of the human fuckable size, and then there's like the gerbil size. So it's just like Pato Degaki just kind of like does her best guess on which one, which bucket to put him in.
Category,
Yeah.
Well, it's like, does she want to have sex with a human version of that animal? Yes or no?
She definitely wants to have sex with the Komodo dragon.
I mean,
Actually, I don't know that. I can't say that out loud.
he's so good.
Gosha is so good in this.
But in case you were wondering whether or not this was a manga for furries, there's just that whole bit where Legoshi's like, Louis visits Legoshi at the hospital because Legoshi just beat up a whole bunch of drug dealers. And Legoshi's like, I've realized that I'm attracted to herbivores. And Louis like, yeah, I know.
No shit.
Like, you're just figuring this out, my dude?
I also like the joke Louis does when he like goes to visit him at the hospital. He's like, which one of the 3 do you want to eat? And one is jellies, another is cake, and then the third choice is him.
He's such a dick.
Yeah, he is.
God, this volume is extremely gay.
You mean between like Louis and Legoshi?
Yeah.
But also you have Gosha and Yafia.
Yeah. But like, there's that bit like right before Legoshi beats up those drug dealers. There's this great spread where like Louis like talking in his head, right? Like, oh, you should go get him. But like the way they're standing in that like shot, and you know, Louis not actually there. But I was just like, man, this is
Louis
BL.
is literally standing with like his crotch like bumped out towards
Yeah,
like
no,
Legoshi.
I'm like, this is the gayest thing I've ever seen.
It's so good.
It's very good. It's very good. Yeah. Yeah, and then like Gosha and Yafia, like Yafia is like mad at at Gosha and like almost like he's jealous because Gosha went and like had a family, like fell in love and had a family. It's pretty damning, I would have to say.
This is a great volume that's going to be a launch pad into like what is essentially going to be like a long final act for the rest of the series.
Exciting.
Yeah. It's going to play out like within, I think, the next volume 14, and then by 15 it's going to be kind of clear where the story is going. So we're definitely getting into like the end game of Beastars, I want to say. Almost, it's 21 volumes total, but so there's still quite a bit. But Morgana, I don't know if you have any comment about 7.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah, and
she's great.
She's mad about Lugosi like talking down her coworkers.
I love how all her problems are just problems that women have in the workplace normally. Except we've just flipped the script a little bit, so it's like herbivores versus carnivores, but this is literally like the kind of harassment that I think a lot of women face, where, you know, they're, you know, like if I'm out, this used to happen a lot, like I would go to a comic shop with my husband, and, you know, the guy at the counter would talk to my husband like he's the one who's interested in comics, when I'm the one who manages a comic book store, you know?
Right.
So stuff like that. And it's the same idea where, you know, like the guy that her coworkers perceived as her boyfriend was the one who was able to get the word in. And it's not because he was male necessarily. It's because he was a big, scary carnivore, but it's like the same idea, you know, like it's the same concept of like being a woman sucks. Sometimes being an herbivore sucks. But yeah, I like her. I love her personality. She's a lot of fun. And I love that she like cares about Legoshi also. She's like concerned about him, even though he's like this big, terrifying meat offender. Like, she's like, oh no, I hope that he doesn't get in trouble with, you know, if he doesn't accidentally take drugs because he's so gullible.
It's so good. But also hard to describe. I bet like this sounds crazy to someone who doesn't like understand anything about Beastars, what we're saying.
It's pretty crazy. I mean,
It's
even if
all
you do
over the
understand.
place. Yeah. It really is all over the place, but it's still done so well.
You gotta believe in the world of animals.
Last thing I want to mention about this volume 13 is the end. The afterword by Paru Itagaki is about her trip to France, which is pretty interesting. Like her flight on like business class. But also, she kind of lists out her schedule for like her writing process. And it's pretty amazing, like everything that she lists out and how she's able to do it. She does it pretty tightly.
Yeah, she works like every day.
But even that, it seems like it's way better than some people.
Oh yeah, no, I think she definitely has days where she has rest, right? Like she's very careful to schedule that for herself, and she even says like it can be stressful, but she's very she hasn't had any situations where she's had to do like all-nighters or anything like that.
Which I think is so rare for manga artists who work on like a weekly magazine. Yeah, volume 13 of Beastars is fantastic.
Yeah, I thought the last one was my favorite, but I think 12 and 13 together, I really like Grandpa. He's such a grandpa.
And like Darfox mentioned, we got out of the school. It's officially about the world and society of Beastars, so it can be even more complex, like with the marine life. It's good. Beastars is great. I guess I shall turn to Morgana first, who gave this a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads.
I did indeed.
I saw that. I was like, oh, a dip in like preference.
I usually give Beastars 4 out of 5. Last volume I gave it 5 stars. Was it 13? Yeah. Because for some reason I just really I really like Legoshi's grandpa. Mm-hmm. He's my buddy. I just love him a lot. So this was par for the course. I still am really enjoying it. Yafuya's crazy.
Yeah, let's talk about Yafuya and all the
nuts.
reveals of the what is it, the Gallant Beastar? Is that his title?
I think so.
Yeah, Dar, what did you think about learning about Yafuya and how he eats carnivores?
In a roundabout way.
Yes.
He definitely murders carnivores.
Yes.
So now we're entering into a section of the story of Beastars where like I'm aware of plot details and aware of characters, but I'm not really sure what's going on because I haven't read it. So like I was pretty sure Yafia was going to be a villain, but now I'm not so sure. Like he's definitely like a counterpart to like Legoshi in a lot of ways. But they introduced a very clear villain, which I always knew this character existed, but I didn't really know their role.
Oh, you're talking about the end of Volume 14 where we meet Melon. Yes?
Yes.
The half gazelle, half leopard.
Yeah. A mixed breed, a mixed carnivore.
Telling you, man. That's weird. Those animals can't... I mean, same deal with wolves and Komodo dragons. Probably even more so because they're not even the same... What is it? Was it genus? No. What's the... One's a reptile and one's a mammal. That's what I'm trying to say.
But yeah, Melon has just made a little appearance here, but Melon is gonna be the bad guy for this series.
I didn't realize that. I kind of thought that was like a one-off kind of thing, that like we were seeing Yafia like tracking down a villain, a criminal.
No, he's definitely a recurring character.
Yeah, specifically created because the entire thing about Legoshi is he's trying to figure out his place in this society. He is also, we have that scene here with him and Haru as well. Haru comes back. Remember Haru?
Yes, right?
She's back, and they're talking about relationship. Like, if they, continue with their relationship and they have kids, they're going to be having half wolf, half rabbit, so...
that's weird.
Let's present a mixed breed here and be like, this mixed breed is, bad person. Bad person.
Scary for Legoshi.
I like Haru a lot more than I did at the beginning of this series. She's like grown up a lot. I mean, she was always pretty mature. I don't know. I don't much care for rabbits in general in life. They're like whatever. I know that like some people really love rabbits and keep rabbits. They're cute, but I'm never like, but she's grown on me. It's especially interesting in contrast when I love wolves. I think wolves are so cool, and I'm like, why would you go for this like rabbit girl when you could have like another wolf?
Juno says hello. Well,
right.
She did say hello. Juno has like deer on her mind. But sorry, Morgana. Go ahead.
No, I just she's I like her, and I think about it like if they were not all animals, right? If she was just like a female character in a manga, I would really like her, and I do really like her. I try not, I realized that I was letting my personal bias about animals get in the way of these characters and their interactions. But the animals they are makes a difference too in how they act and how they like interact with each other. I thought so Haru makes Legoshi take her around the
black market.
The black market, yes, thank you. And they go into this one place that's like dead rabbits in like a case. They're like look like they're sleeping. And I actually kind of liked it because it said that these rabbits have like all died natural deaths, and they, have whatever been sold. It seems like there was choice involved with being put here. And I was like, that seems like a perfectly legitimate thing to do when you die, to like pass your body on, and people do that. We donate organs. We, personally, I want to like rot and turn into a tree. I just want to like my body to decay. So, people do things like that, not to be eaten, but like the concept is there, donate your body to science, whatever.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of nice and kind of sweet and as ethical as you can be when you're talking about eating other people. And especially contrasted with Yafia's, like, I found that really I found it more disturbing that he kills carnivores and uses their bones to grow his carrots than the actual concept of going out and killing and eating someone.
Yeah.
Like, because it's especially because of who he is and like what his status is as
what
like
he represents as a hero of the society.
I'm like, that's sick. It's like really sick.
I mean, they're criminals. He's not killing innocents.
No, it doesn't matter. Like I was gonna say, human life, intrinsically has value. In this case, it's not human, but life intrinsically has value, and there's something far more honest about just killing and eating someone in cold blood, or in the passion of the moment, than like calculating and hunt. I mean, he's a serial killer.
Yeah, that was a big thing for them to kind of gloss over, and I wonder if they retouch upon that because, like, I mean, I'm not going to shed too many tears for some sort of weird mass murderer person, but if he's like grinding up and fertilizing people who just got arrested for like shoplifting or like selling drugs or something, it's like okay, yeah, these are bad things, but like I mean, like, why are you going to execute them for that?
Okay, so at least in the Japanese versions that like I read of this story, my impression was like these are like criminals that Yafia captured that got put on, like, they got executed, right? They were tried for their crimes.
Like capital punishment, but
punishment.
Instead of being executed, they get ground up or whatever.
Well, they get executed and then they get used as fertilizer, so he gets to keep the remains of, like, the criminals that are executed. I think that's what my impression was. Which is still not great.
No, it's slightly better, but I'm also opposed to capital punishment, so like maybe this is my own bias here. But yeah, no, it just like I don't know. I don't particularly like Yafia. I think he needs to like
he needs to
get
chill.
over himself. Yeah,
he really has an issue with Gosha, and
he's like what I thought Louis was going to be like turned up to 11.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Yafia.
Well, like he's kind of in my head. He's kind of similar to Legoshi in that like he has these extreme kind of views on things, like very absolute black and white kind of things. Like in the scene when he Haru wanted to kiss Legoshi, like in the rabbit meat shop. Legoshi was like, "This is the money I have on my bank account. I don't know what kind of future I can give you." And she's like she didn't really want like the conversation about financial stability in the future. She wanted a kiss, It's like, but like that's where Legoshi's brain went, right? Like, okay, this kiss is indicative of this relationship and what this relationship going to be. Like, I need to be forthcoming with this, and he just like goes all in, right? And like Yafia on the other side, he's just like fixated on this 10% of his like vision, where like, oh, he could only see 350% of his, or 350 degrees of vision, and he's just like fixated on like having Gosha like backing him up, right? Like he feels like a huge betrayal on that, and I feel like for some reason that's very, to me, seems a lot like something that Legoshi might do, but like just kind of like a different tinge.
Yeah, except that like Legoshi is all about like he has to fix the problem himself, you know what I mean? Whereas like Yafia almost seems like, I don't know.
I'm going to punish Gosha for what he does, and therefore I'm punishing Legoshi. Like he says, I win after like he gets Legoshi to apologize directly to him.
I think Legoshi needs anxiety medication and therapy because boy is like going 200 miles an hour and he needs to slow down. I say this from personal experience. When you're thinking like that many steps ahead, you need to back it up.
I like how the beginning of this volume starts with him in the black market, and he's seeing like the people just trying to live their lives, and like he's questioning things, like from what like his younger self is poking him and be like, "Is this what it means to grow up?" I like that a lot.
They should just go more to was it B Strike? What is that?
Oh, yes.
Amusement park.
Yes, this chapter this volume has like the one-off chapter where like Parutagaki is like, let me tell you about this Beast Society. This is basically like a Lego Moo chicken, egg salad sandwich chapter. But it stars Legoshi and his former canine roommates, and they go to B Strike. It's like a gym almost, like a sports facility
/ amusement park / like.
Well, specifically, it's like. Yeah, it's like a spa relaxation, but at the same time, it like feeds into the animal instincts of like what they want to do. So there's like a place for the felines called Scratch Heaven, where they can just scratch as much as they want. There's like hammocks for the kangaroos, where they can just feel like they're hanging in a pouch. The dog one, the Kanide one, is so good. Give and take, where it's just this box that like shoots a ball. And so all Legoshi and his roommates chase the ball! Return the ball! After you turn the ball, like it praises you, and they're like, "Yay!" and they're shaking their tails. They're so happy.
Just the visual of them kind of like huddled together, staring at the box, and then it kind of like does a fake out,
Yeah.
and they all like react and like it's all just like strange. It's really weird, but also like very wholesome.
Yes.
And then afterward, they're like passing by some lady who drops her groceries, and like the oranges go rolling down the stairs. And like, we'll get it.
Yep. It's great. What do you think about Lugosi ripping his teeth out?
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Very Legoshi.
What an
And also
idiot.
very Paru Itagaki be like, what is the most shocking, dramatic thing I can do? Soap opera.
It's not easy to rip your teeth out like what a. And I love he goes to Gohan, and Gohan is like, "Oh my god,
What are you doing?
like what have you done, you idiot?"
Oh, what did you like? I mentioned that Haru comes back in this volume, and we said that later on she goes to the black market with Lugosi. But the entire lead up to that, she's at college, at the university, hanging out with, making rabbit friends. You know, not trying to get bullied, but she can't keep her mouth shut when her rabbit friend Akko has a tiger boyfriend named Iado.
I get where that scene is coming from, but I did feel it was a little bit like much where like Haru doesn't actually know these people, so she doesn't really know like what kind of relationship they have, and I feel like the storytelling could have done a little better job of like presenting their relationship as like as actually kind of frivolous, and they don't actually care about each other, and they're just hanging out and quote unquote dating because whatever.
Right. Because she just sees them looking happy, and she's immediately like, "This is fake. They aren't serious."
Yeah. So like I feel like there was something missing in that scene, and like it leads to like the you know like the guy like fucking up her head. She might still be alive. I'm not sure he killed her or not.
There's a follow up to them in Beast Complex.
Oh, interesting. But I mean, even Haru after the fact was like, "I shouldn't have done that. That was inappropriate." So she kind of knew that she, I think she was just angry and jealous, and she kind of figured it out that she was.
Yep.
But like right when she was going to go apologize, it was like, oh, okay, maybe I wasn't so wrong.
Yeah, it's like it also kind of like tries to emphasize this worldview that the adults, or at least the young adults, have about like violence between herbivores and carnivores. Where like earlier in the story, it seems so frantic and so traumatic, but like now everybody's just kind of strangely detached from it.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll talk about this more as we continue with these new volumes of Beastars, but I feel like you can kind of sense a little about this. People have complaints about Beastars as a story for like the beginning, where it seems like it doesn't it kind of unravels a little bit. It's not quite as tightly knit as the world premise or the world setting that Paru Itagaki builds. The narrative itself is a little loose at times. And I feel like it gets a little looser and looser as we move on toward like the end from this point on. At least that was my impression when I read through it, like as it was going and serialized. So I'd be interested to hear what Dark Fox and Morgana have to say about that.
I definitely feel like setting up some weird Hannibal Lecter villain as like the potentially like the final story arc is kind of like unnecessary. Like I feel like more stuff outside of like the school would have been the way to go.
Right. Trying to think of what else I want to mention. Oh, I do really like that scene when Haru and Lugosi. First of all, Haru comes to see Lugosi because it's his birthday. They're hanging out in his apartment, and he's like, "I quit school because I ate Lewis's leg," but like Haru just like gives him like the most pissed off look, and she's just like, "I'm not getting sucked into your self-destructive impulses." It's a very good Haru response.
Like I said, I appreciate her more these days. She's kind of like, "You're just full of shit, you idiot."
I mean, despite the fact, like, you could have said, like, she kind of got she was so prominent at the beginning of the story, and once they got into, taking down Riz to avenge Tem, she really wasn't there for almost all of that. She's finally back after Lugosi has, like, dropped out of school, so Kinda. We'll see where she ends up. We got a lot of new characters. We got Gohan, we got Yafia, we now have Melon. A lot of characters we're gonna have to focus on. So where will Haru fit in there?
I want to see her hang out with Seven, but I feel like it's not really going to
Ready?
happen.
I think they'd get along.
Anything else to say, Morgana?
I don't think so. Mostly that I hate Yafia. Interestingly, I watched the Bela Lugosi Dracula last week because I had never seen it before, and just kind of interesting to see Lugosi's namesake. It's a good movie, but mostly because Bela Lugosi's in it.
Yep. Without further ado, let's talk about Volume 15 because a lot of shit happens in Volume 15. And Morgana, I saw your Goodreads rating of this.
Yeah.
5 stars.
I gave it 5 stars this time. I'm trying to remember what it was about because I'm really sleepy right now, but I remember, I remember Lugosi's being adorable and stupid, which is like what he does.
He
the
met
whole
Haru's
series.
family.
So, that's right. That was really cute.
And then he gets recruited by Yafia to like go on an undercover mission into a underground nightclub, like a
Yeah.
Like
swingers.
a mass party kind of
Yeah.
weird thing.
Yeah,
Like an S&M bar, sort of weird.
It's kind of race role playing. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
But it's specifically something a lot of rich and elite people are doing in this world.
Yes. It's a pretty interesting concept. We can get more into it, but Lugosi gets shot. He gets fucking shot.
For being a dummy, really.
Right. For being too kind, as usual, which is kind of like, I think, part of what I really appreciate about him as a character is he's so soft.
Mhm.
He's such a soft boy, and he really shouldn't be involved in any of this bullshit.
But also, Louis reunites with the Shishigumi.
Yes. Which I also really like. I think I said this last time we talked about Beastars, but I cannot believe I like Louis so much.
Yeah.
when I was first started reading, I was like, oh man, this guy sucks. No, he's a sweet boy also.
Yes, he's happy with his lion friends. But yeah,
I love them.
Shishigumi is being run by Melon, the current like villain. And also, we get the flashback because Lugosi is like, he's a ghost. Or like what's it called? Astral projection.
Mhm.
Out of body experience.
Yeah, out of body experience.
He might be dying.
But
we
he's
don't know.
visited by the spirit of his mother, and then we get to learn all about the mom and his dad.
Which I also really was into getting a little bit more of his background, and which is hilarious.
Mm-hmm. I like the extra, which was it was what was underneath the covers for like the Japanese tankobons, which is it's a flashback with Lugosi and his like canine roommates, and they're watching like movies,
Yes,
and his dad shows up.
but he doesn't know it's his dad.
Yeah, he doesn't know
obviously.
his dad, and like he's
It's so
like.
funny.
He dies immediately because all he does is has bit parts, and they make a comment of like, "This is the type of like actor that like sleeps around and has a bunch of illegitimate kids."
Womp womp.
So yeah, Dar, let's talk about this. I just went over everything, so now we can talk.
I don't know if it's like a Japanese thing or if it's just a Paro Itagaki thing, but like similar to that scene where like Legoshi had the vision of speaking to the like moth after like he ate that grub. Just him having an out of body experience and talking to his dead mom. It just seems just like it's something that wouldn't really fly in like Western comics or like there has to be like more explanations to this. But like no, like it's just gonna like I don't know if it's just like Paro Itagaki's like like soap opera watching or whatever the fuck. It's just like. Yeah, this is something that would happen to this character right here. They like just talk to your dead mom. Like it's not like it's not like there's a shaman backstory to like Legoshi's ancestry or something where like, oh, he's in tune to the spirit world. We know that. And like, no, there's nothing like that. Like there's no reason why he'd have this vision quest, except for the fact that maybe people have these vision quests sometimes. We don't know.
I love that description of it as a vision quest. I hadn't really. It is. It's very like, it's like super mystical. I had forgotten about the moth thing. I don't know how I had forgotten about it because it was so absurd.
Well, not only did he have like the moth communion where he just like spoke to a moth about life and like expectations of like of like your cravings and stuff. But then, like when he was fighting Riz, he like summoned moths
That's
or
right.
butterflies.
He also seems to have a spiritual connection with Louis after eating his leg.
Yes.
It's like a whole thing.
Oh,
Yes,
and when he gets
Louis-
shot, then that's when it cuts to Louis. Yeah, and he's like, my leg.
Louis has like phantom limb syndrome, except only when like Legoshi's in trouble.
God, it's so funny.
It's funny
These
too.
boys.
His reaction is, "I have a hunch he's in trouble, but I can't do anything about it. Whatever, I'm gonna ignore it."
Yeah, right? I was like, oh, you're the worst boyfriend. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I Beastars. We talked about how like Beastars does really good world building, and like it just kind of like it opens up the scope of the world, and it kind of like almost like it telescopes out. It used to be like this very narrow thing at the school, and then like you get to learn of the black market, and it gets bigger and bigger. You see the apartment, the complex where like these beasts live, where Legoshi's staying. So like that's a really fun aspect and one of my favorite aspects about Beastars. But like at this point, the characters, I assume this is like the status quo, and I'm so comfortable with like the way these characters are and the way they're like interacting and this fellowship of beasts that exists. Obviously, like there's still stuff in the air. Like we don't actually know if Legoshi and Haru are going to get married and stay together and stuff like that. There's still like those aspects that we don't know. But like there's no longer like the will they won't they of like Legoshi and Louis. We know that they like love each other, which is very nice.
Yeah, it's really interesting to have this. I mean, I don't want to call it like a direct analog to like civil rights, like American civil rights issues and intermarriage, interracial marriage here, but there is definitely like Japan likes to believe it's mostly homogenous, so I often wonder like what the social temperature is around like mixed race marriage or intermarriage, and like how this kind of story might work differently in Japan than in the United States, where like interracial marriage has been a thing for many years now, but it for a certain generation it's just like understood, but like it's not been around that long, all things considered. So it's weird that there's this kind of parallel, but and we talked, I think, when we first started talking about Beastars, and when we talked about Beastars on Manga Mavericks, kind of how it's almost like a like talking about race, talking about like things like that, but it's not quite as straightforward as that. Maybe it's not exactly Zootopia.
Yeah, no, it's messier, but like these comparisons are still there.
Yeah,
like they're very easy to draw. And I've seen a lot of people drawing comparisons between we kind of joke about Legoshi and Louis being like a couple, but like I've seen people making like comparisons of like Riz being some sort of like gay allegory.
Interesting.
And the way like his interaction with Tem went.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and that may or may not be extremely problematic.
Yeah,
because of what happened.
I don't know how I feel about that one, but okay.
I think that's a lot of Beastars though. Like,
yeah,
when you start to interpret it, like, okay, yeah, there's obviously like these very easy to see threads that work as like parables for our world, but like if you just keep pulling him, like it all falls apart, right? Like it it just leads to something just like really uncomfortable, like the whole idea of like a interspecies animal being like a freak, quote unquote.
Yeah,
right.
The main antagonist, no less.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that too. Like, part herbivore, part carnivore, therefore definitely a psychopath. Like, it's like a weird. I mean, I get the complicated emotions of being, of his situation, and I don't necessarily blame him. But I hope and pray that there is another character that is also mixed, both carnivore and herbivore, who doesn't, do things like that.
Well, they kind of split the difference, but it's not great either way with like Legoshi's mom, who committed suicide.
Right, but Legoshi is all carnivore because
These
Right,
Komodo dragons
Yeah, that too.
are or insectivores, I think, but I think they're carnivorous. I think they eat meat.
Yeah, they do.
So, so you're right. They do kind of have that, like, Legoshi is also what you might want to call like mixed race. But it is different because he's not carnivore and herbivore, which is like the big point of tension, I should say, in this world.
Yeah, I mean, like Darfox said, like if you start applying things and like looking at it and like, wait, what does this mean? Please understand that like I've asked Paru Itagaki this like straight up. Like I sent her a question over her Tumblr and she answered me about this, but she doesn't think about like actual parables when she's writing like these characters. This is a world about animals, so she is like approaching this as animals, right?
Right.
Yeah,
she did say that her stories are about it's about prejudice, right? Any kind of prejudice. So she admitted that much.
Yes.
Yeah, and I know that, like, I get that from from the author's perspective, but I do wonder how people interpret it differently.
Oh yeah, well, of course,
right? Because you can't consume media without thinking about it on some level, right? I would hope.
And the author is dead, so like,
right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter what Paru Itagaki says.
Yeah,
The thing is, unless it's specific. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just gonna say that I think with Japanese culture, and I might get like corrections about this, so feel free to correct me. But I'm pretty sure, like, because like this is a Japanese manga, like with the Japanese culture, like they don't look at this manga and think of all the things that we do, coming from like the US specifically, where like it's very like lots of races, lots of like these problems that exist.
Well, yeah, and specifically, I mean, for us in the United States, specifically, a lot of complicated history between black and white and
mixed race,
white people and mixed race and white people and indigenous people. There's a lot of very complicated issues, and it's not like Japan doesn't have complicated race issues, but they are definitely different, and I don't think they're as easy to compare directly to this as the circumstance in the United States, which is really interesting. Because Paru Itagaki is not American, but there are definitely threads here that I every time I read one of these, I'm just like, I can't help but like my brain will interpret things a certain way because of my background, right?
Right.
It's fascinating, and I just always wonder how someone else, with a different background might think about these things. Like, I don't know what Japanese people might feel about like intermarriage, or like what is considered intermarriage in Japan. The context is completely different.
Beastars, it goes deep.
Yeah.
But there's also like, astral projection, talking to your dead mom stuff. So like, take it, it's a little bit of everything.
Let's talk about the best moment though, when Louis goes back to the black market and runs into Shishigumi, even though he promised he wouldn't.
I know.
So Free is going to shoot him, and he accepts this. But at that moment, his antlers fall off. He shed them.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, okay, sorry about that. Go ahead, kill me. They're like, nope.
I love that interpretation. It's like, I'm supposed to shoot you if I recognize you, but I don't. I don't recognize you as Louis, so I'm not going to kill you.
Yep.
And then they give big hugs.
Big hugs.
Dumbasses. I love them. I do love the Shishigumi, and again, Paru Itagaki is out here making me feel feelings about criminals and stupid deer with feelings. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I liked Haru's dad when he drives
Legoshi home.
Yeah, well, Legoshi's home basically, and he's like, he took notice of all the things that Legoshi does, probably subconsciously, to just like not be threatening, which was like, it's kind of fucked up because it's that whole like, you have to act good, or else you're not one of the good ones or whatever. But like, Haru's dad, being an adult, he's like keenly aware of all these things, and he just wonders if Haru even realizes the stuff that like this carnival guy has to do.
Yeah, I was worried that there was going to be some like family drama in that, like with Haru's family, and then her dad was just like, "Hey, come back again sometime," and I was like, "What a sweet man! What a sweet bunny man!" Because it can't be easy, right? Like, not only is Legoshi a carnivore, but he's like huge and terrible, and Haru's like this tiny little. They're rabbits. I mean, they're itty bitty. So he's like extra scary.
Well, Legoshi also has those scars over his eye,
Right.
too.
Yes. Yeah. He looks like, an ex-con. And
He
he
technically is.
And he technically is, but he has like the mannerisms and the I don't know, personality of I don't know. He's such a pushover.
Yeah.
He's a sweet boy.
He's a sweet boy.
To dip back into like the stuff that's like potentially iffy about Beastars is like that's always been a huge part of like Legoshi's character, right? That like one of the first things I fell in love with Beastars was actually just Legoshi and the way he acts and the way how he's like so subdued and how like he's not like a big personality. He's actually like he's really small, reserved personality. Who ends up doing big things sometimes. But like now they're like seemingly kind of getting into this whole idea that like he's getting that from his grandpa side, the Komodo, the reptilian side, right? Because reptiles, I see a fucking lizard sometimes in a place. I'm like, oh shit, it's a lizard. I leave it alone. I come back a day later, it's still there. Like, oh, it must be dead. And then a day later, it fucking runs away. I'm like, that shit just fucking stood there like for like 2 days, just chilling. Like,
yep. Yeah, lizards are weird.
So it's like it's getting sort of into like this whole like genetic race personality thing,
right.
Where like black people act a certain way, or Asians are a certain way. You know what I'm saying? And again, like it isn't. It's talking about Komodo dragons and wolves and stuff. But like like it's if you actually pull these threads, it does this stuff, which it kind of like, for better or for worse, it pollutes kind of like the original like interpretation I had of Legoshi, which is just like a person who had this appearance and had this personality, and the appearance and personality were kind of different from what you might expect, and that was very charming about him. But now I see it as like this person who's like this mixture of a species, and that's why he's this way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and, it's interesting too, because like certain animals do have certain like attitudes and certain personality types, or if you want to call it a personality. I mean, they're animals, but humans don't. There has been, it's been proven that there is no genetic difference between human races. So, human races aren't real. We've kind of made them up. So there's no genetic or biological difference really between the three of us here, who I think are all of different backgrounds, right?
Yeah.
Genetically, we are all the same, so there shouldn't be any differences between us personality-wise or in terms of like our preferences, or I mean, obviously there are differences between individuals, but in terms of like group behavior or whatever. But animals are different between different species, so that does complicate the allegory, such as it is. And it does make that like comparison that I think it's natural that we're all making. It does make it more complicated, more problematic.
You should have called it Beastars: complicated allegories, or contradicting allegories. Well,
maybe with the mass ball, yeah.
It's one of like the things I like about Beastars, where like like we talked about Zootopia before, right? Zootopia is the Disney film version of the story, where it's just like very straightforward, and carnivore stuff is just used as a thing, as like, hey, don't don't read the book by its cover, right? You never know, right? Is that's the whole like that's the whole starting point, and kind of Beastars has a little bit of that, but it just keeps on going, and like Beastars has just kept on going until it's just dug this fucking massive hole for itself, and it's just gonna dig its way out. It's just gonna keep going.
Well, I think the difference too is like, and this is, I mean, obviously this, but like obviously Zootopia is for kids, so it's one movie, so it's gonna be very simple, very straightforward. Beastars is just an interesting story that, you know, Haruhi Itagaki put in this world with animals. I think it's like it's weird and like it's a weird coincidence that there is also Zootopia that kind of touches on or seems to touch on similar ideas, especially with like you got a fox and a rabbit. But you know, now that I think about it, I don't think Zootopia ever talks about how they deal with the food situation.
Nope.
That I feel complicated about that now.
Well, I think they're making a Zootopia TV show, like
are
a cartoon.
I'm sure I'll find out one day when my daughter is into it or some shit. I'm not looking forward to having to go through all of Disney in a few years.
Is your daughter not in the phase yet, watching one movie 24/7?
No, she's too young. I mean, she enjoys watching things. She does watch TV. But she watches Sesame Street, or she likes to watch Maisie, which is like another like preschooler cartoon type thing. But like we'll start watching a movie together, and she'll sit for like 20 minutes, and then she's like off and doing her own thing. She can't focus that long, so we'll see. I suspect within the next like year or so, it's going to be, as long as it's not like having to rewatch, you know, Frozen over and over again, I think I'll probably survive.
I think you dodged that bullet.
You know, it's incredibly popular actually still. Our friends have a 2-year-old who is really into Frozen and Moana. Moana is cute. I like Moana, but yeah, no, it's still really popular, and I don't really know why, because both Frozen and Frozen 2 kind of came out a while ago at this point, but they just don't quit with that IP.
I mean, we could say the same thing about like all the Disney movies from our childhood. You know?
Yeah, definitely. But there are some that like I don't see as much around. And the children's like the stuff for kids is wild. Like I see like all kinds of weird licensed merch. I could go on and on, but anyway. As long as I don't have to watch Frozen endlessly. It's not bad. It's not a bad movie. James and I watched it recently. It's fine. It's right. But like I don't need to see it over and over again. If she wants to watch like Disney's Robin Hood from the 70s over and over again, fine. I love that movie. I would watch it over and over again. Speaking of hot foxes, I guess.
Speaking of like furry awakenings for a whole generation.
Right? Yeah. I love that movie though. I do. So, you know. Anyway, we were talking about Beastars. Do you think... I feel like Haruhi Itagaki mentioned liking Disney films as a kid.
Yes.
In one of the afterwards. Yeah.
It was in the Beast Complex, like, afterward.
Ah, yes, okay.
Kind of her entire origins for, like, doing animal stories is, like, people will be mocking. It's like, why is that dog talking? That dog isn't. I think it was, like, a reference to...
Oh, Goofy and Pluto.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. I still don't know.
Funny animals. Supposedly, there's a whole thing where, like, if they talk, they're considered quote-unquote funny animals. If they don't, they're just regular animals. So Pluto is a regular animal. Goofy is a funny animal.
Interesting.
That's the internal, like, nomenclature, apparently. Nothing but funny
Walt
animals.
Disney never thought about what does, like, Donald eat and what does Goofy eat and
right?
what Mickey needs to eat.
Well, Mickey is a mouse, so he just eats cheese, right? That's how that works. Mickey is a minstrel.
Oh, yeah.
We could get deep in the weeds. Yeah. We could get deep in the weeds with Disney.
Yeah, you know what? If Disney's allowed to be so, like, messy, then Beastars is allowed to be so messy.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, you know what? To randomly jump back to the Beastars volume, I thought that there was going to be a whole chapter on that, was it a Jackal CEO?
Yes.
Yeah.
That went to the ball.
They kind of started out like it was going to be about her, and then it like switched perspectives.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be another one of those like one-off chapters about like this is how this like very lonely CEO, you know, deals with life or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, never mind. It's just back into like the A plot of like they're going undercover to like find the killer or whatever.
And like, I want to be clear, I don't like Yahuya. Like, I think he sucks. But Haruhi Itagaki's done that thing again where he's like way more complicated than just like kind of a like villain in a good guy position. You know what I mean? I don't like him. I don't anticipate liking him the way I like Louis going forward. But I see that he is more, you know, there's more to him than just like I eat vegetables grown with the bones of carnivores. Like, and I just, how does that make you better than Melon? I don't. Okay, you know what I mean?
Well, I was reminded, I had forgotten, but I was reminded about the whole deal he had where, like, he really needed his Komodo dragon friend to cover, like, the last 10% of his division, and he was so obsessed, and he felt betrayed when, like, he went off and got a girlfriend or whatever, because they had that scene where he's like, all right, now that I have Legoshi covering that 10%, I could scan everybody. It's like, he has this I don't know what to call it, like a complex of, like,
Yeah.
He's an extremely capable and independent, like, animal and person and operator and, you know, crime fighter or whatever the fuck his job is. But, like, he has this complex where, like, he needs his Robin. It's almost like a ceremonial Robin, where it's like, he doesn't actually need him. Like, he could compensate all this stuff on his own. But,
Just
like,
turn your damn head, dude.
Yeah, like, and literally, like, he just has to turn it a couple degrees to cover
Get
that.
a rear view mirror, like.
So like, it's that aspect of his character. He's, like, obsessive, right? And we didn't really see the outcome of what he's gonna say to Legoshi after Legoshi just let go, like let the fucking Hannibal Lecter guy go. I don't know. I'm eagerly awaiting volume 16.
I mean, you got that scene in this volume where he's dealing with police bureaucracy and no one wants to take the blame for, like, not being able to catch Melon. He's just annoyed, so.
And he goes on this rant about, like, tolerance. I'm like, all right, bro, chill.
It's like, wow.
Tolerance. We're never going to catch villains. They forgot about tolerance.
Yeah, but the entire reason that he was able to recruit Legoshi to help him was, like, I will help erase your criminal record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
Hang that carrot. Right,
you know,
dangle that carrot.
I mean, it's Legoshi's fault. Legoshi was being a dumbass and let Melon go, but
I mean, yes,
you still got him shot. I'm sure Gosha's going to be real happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I totally get why Legoshi really wanted to talk to this guy, but he could have probably talked to him, like, in a jail cell.
Right? I know.
It's
well,
really funny.
And, you know, that's the thing. Like, he's like such a bleeding heart. You know, and I say that as somebody who considers myself one as well. Like, he just can't see people. Because he knows he's not perfect, he's so willing to forgive other people's imperfections to a fault. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, he, like, kills people. Like, kills people.
Might be a serial psycho murderer person.
Yeah, like, that's like you know, and I'm not saying that, like, he's not still deserving of certain amount of dignity and fair trial and respect, but, like, maybe you should just be careful. Maybe you should save your own ass.
I mean, the entire thing about that is it's supposed to represent that Melon is, like, might be, like, the future product of his relationship with Haru.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's entirely supposed to. Yeah.
I mean, birth control's a thing, my dude. I'm just saying, like, you don't have to have kids if you're that worried about it.
That'll be a theme that keeps coming up as, like, we make our way towards the ending.
I am still mystified by the fact that not only can, you know, you have different species procreate together, but you can have carnivores and herbivores crossbreed, which is just that's not possible. That's definitely not possible. It's an interesting choice.
Absolutely.
And you know, there's so much of what Haruhi Takaki does. It's very faithful to what we know of as, like, human science, you know, it's a science of animals in our real world. But every now and then there's just something like this where it's just like, what? Like, that's what? They don't, like, I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure that wolves and lizards don't even have quite the same, like, I think lizards have cloaca. Like, I don't think they have the same type of genitals. Like,
Haruhi has two brains. One brain is the nature show brain. The other one is the soap opera brain.
Yep. It's like, how can I make this the most dramatic thing ever? And if you see that final chapter with, like, the flashback of the mom and how she lived a life when she was born of just looking like a wolf, a gray wolf, and then, you know, she
starts
yeah.
Okay, but the scales looked super cool,
yeah.
And I feel like she should have just leaned into it. But maybe that's, like, that's my, I don't know. Just lean in, girl. You look cool. I mean, it did look a little itchy, but
it looked itchy. Like, I her character makes a lot more sense now. I don't know if it's like a very great reason for her to commit suicide, but like,
I mean, I don't know if anybody's reasons seem good to anybody outside the situation, right?
right? Yeah, sure, yeah, that's a good point. But like her setting up like her kind of like motivation in life to be like beautiful and uncomplicated. It's like
Right.
that's how she wanted, right? And she, to the point where she even like stopped telling people that, you know, she was a half breed or whatever. So like when this starts coming out, it's like really complicates the situation, and maybe in her eyes makes her unbeautiful. It's like the opposite of what she's been striving for.
Well, also, in the next volume, we'll get more of this as well. This isn't the end of, like, the flashback, so look forward to that.
She's just going to be like a character hovering around Legoshi's shoulder. Get him, Legoshi! Hit him in the ribs!
Yeah, next time he's in a fight, he's gonna summon her like a. This is actually Shaman King.
Yeah.
Not sure if you knew.
Before we wrap up, because we've been going for a while, Morgana, what put volume 15 at 5 stars over the other volumes?
You know, I think it was just there were a lot of really touching moments. I'm a sucker for some of those like feel good moments, especially like Louis going back to the Shishigumi gave me a lot of feelings. Even and I did like the flashback into like Legoshi's mom's past, and like I thought that was really interesting. So I don't know, you know, and I just kind of rate with my gut, right, when I go onto Goodreads and do these, and I was going back and forth, and I was like, you know what? No, I really enjoyed reading that, so I'm gonna do the 5-star thing, and it's just kind of I don't know. It was a pleasure to read, and I think part of it too is like it had been a while since I read a volume of B-Stars, and it kind of sucked me right back in, which always, you know, when you can pick up a book in a series, not remember what exactly happened when you left off, and then immediately get back into it and be like, oh right, that's what happened.
Yeah.
I think that's like a sign of a really good, you know, solid story.
Well, volume 16 should be out in January. We don't have to wait that long.